This is the ATI Podcast.
AEW is now destination television once again. The ship has been steered properly once again. This belt is now the most important belt in this entire sport. And it's thanks to three letters. And it damn sure ain't AEW. I know for a motherfucking fact it ain't MOX. It's MJF. God damn, you people are fucking dumb, man. No offense. No offense. You had sympathy for the devil? What are you, fucking stupid? You morons bit on every single word I had to say this past couple of months, huh? I want to earn it. I want to fuck that. I deserve it, because I'm the best wrestler in the fucking world. And every single one of you know it. On the microphone, in the ring, nobody can touch me. That's a fact. Nobody is on my level. And then, to think you guys still believe me when I put over this motherfucker this past Wednesday? Grow the fuck up. No offense. Grow up. Now let's talk a little bit, huh? MJF, what's going on with you and Regal? You know, we're all really interested. What's going on? How'd that link up start? You think I'm gonna tell you, dumb motherfucker? Huh? With 70,000 fucking hardcore marks watching at home, jerking off in their grandma's basement? Huh? To my velvet voice? You think I give a shit? No, if you wanna know anything about the most important man in professional wrestling, you gotta tune in to the MJF show. That's every Wednesday on TBS. And you know damn well that is now Destination TV. Now here's what's gonna fucking happen, okay? I'm gonna take a shower. I'm gonna get all of Moxie's disgusting hepatitis A through Z off of me. And then in the morning, I'm gonna do what nobody else on the roster does, because I'm the only real fucking star here. I'm gonna hop on a jet and I'm gonna go to my goddamn movie set. Anybody got any questions? Huh? Just kidding. Thank you. Fuck you. Bye. Champs fucking out, baby!
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the ATI Podcast, episode 51. Barrett here, as well as Josh Welch.
Hello, hello.
The Babyface Jake Jackson with another run-in to the ATI Podcast. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Welcome in, bro.
Fantastic, yes. So I know that we've got quite the wrestling agenda to go over today. We're going to hit on our top male performers of the year, top tag teams, top female performers, as well as top feuds and moments of the year, and then do a little bit of a Royal Rumble recap. Talk about what we can talk about. Today is June 21st or 22nd, I believe. So yeah, 22nd. And the Royal Rumble is 1 week out from today, and still the entire match card hasn't been announced. So we'll only be able to talk about so much with regards to Royal Rumble, but I feel like, you know, it's always the road to WrestleMania, so there's a lot you can talk about, where stories are going to go and eventually an end, and new stars are made at WrestleMania, very commonly. But let's talk about some NFL football, guys, because we got some good games on this weekend.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Go Cowboys, go Bills. Don't really have a team left, but just rooting for good games at this point.
Yeah, so that kind of an interesting scenario can play out potentially, in that the fact that Kansas City won last night, and what if Buffalo wins? So they have to have that AFC Championship game at a neutral site.
I think it's Atlanta, yeah.
So they've already got that straightened out, which is, I don't know that that's ever been done before, relocated specifically for what purposes there is, and that's obviously Damar Hamlin got injured for the Buffalo Bills. It's been pretty hot, news topic, across all medium forums and what have you.
Right.
But so kind of something unheard of. Honestly, they didn't know what was going on with him. They thought he was dead. I mean, clinically, he was dead on the field for a period of time.
Yeah.
He had lost oxygen to his brain, and it's amazing that he has what faculties he does right now, considering how long he was passed out. I think it was something like 20-something minutes.
Damn,
22 minutes, maybe? I don't recall the exact number, but something I was like, that's otherworldly.
Yeah.
Whenever this happened at the beginning of the game between the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals, everybody just was in a state of shock, didn't know what to do. Again, unprecedented what happened. So they canceled the game. They were barely into the first quarter. I want to say maybe 10 minutes into the first quarter, if even that. I'm sure that had some to do with the decision making, but ultimately it was about human life.
Yeah.
And all sports, all team sports is a brotherhood. Whenever one of your people go down, one of your brothers go down, it's hard for you to operate during a game.
Right.
So I think the right decision was made, but I know there's a lot of hot sports talk out there about, oh, it's ridiculous that they canceled the game. They should have continued the game as they would with any other injury, yada, yada, yada.
I don't think anyone was really like, if they thought that, they didn't say it. Like, it was the right thing to do because I've never seen anything like that in my entire watching sports life. I've seen Alex Smith, which was pretty gruesome.
Right.
Teddy Bridgewater, Tyler Eifert. Like I've seen some pretty serious injuries, but not. You usually get the thumbs up,
right.
and then we're playing again. But when they went to the second commercial break, I was like, okay, something's wrong here.
Right.
And the ambulance comes on the field. Like it's really, I've never seen anything like it, and I'm just glad he's okay.
Yeah.
Fuck football.
No.
Right.
I'm glad he's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they made the right decision and stopping the game and, taking care of him, making him priority. So,
and I think maybe the second part of that criticism involved in this situation is that they felt as though that the NFL should have rescheduled the games. Yeah, that's a possibility, but the NFL is such a machine, and that machine has to continue to operate the same way. So all of their promotion, their scheduling, the timing of things.
Right.
Yeah, it's a big business. It's not like that they could play a makeup game really any time unless it was, maybe I guess in the middle of the week, but that too was just ultimately the right decision was made.
Yeah.
And I'm just bringing up, all points of view that's being thrown out there, but we're talking about all of this to say this, and that's why they're doing the neutral site in the event that it's Kansas City and Buffalo, because Buffalo played one less game, so then they went by winning percentages, your overall record versus your losses, and it kind of made the financials, the digits, the analytics of it kind of funky, and so that's why Buffalo is beating Treen the way that they are, and the Bengals too, technically, but the Bengals were such a low seed as it was anyways. In the event that they win, it's going to be at Kansas City, the AFC Championship game, so it'll be really cool to see who gets it. We're kind of in the St. Louis market, of course, so we don't have a team to root for anymore, so I think a lot of people, by default, timing-wise, I think Kansas City has a lot of bandwagon fans.
100%.
Rams reject fans.
Especially in Missouri.
As a hardcore St. Louis Rams fan for my entire football watching life, I only got to experience the St. Louis Rams, the shitter teams.
Right.
I was like a baby when the greatest show on turf was going on. Yeah. So I was there through all the shit years. I watched, Sam Bradford and Kellen Clemens and all these random ass quarterbacks we had. And
but dude,
Steven Jackson was the only legit star we had. No receivers, nothing. And, when they left and people just, we're going to be Chiefs fans by default. It pisses me off a little bit. I know it's weird and doesn't make sense, but we're from the St. Louis area. We are not anywhere near Kansas City.
Right.
To be honest, the Titans may be closer, if not the same distance from here to this house to Arrowhead or Nissan Stadium. I don't. It's got to be a close.
Well, that's Nashville. It's about 5.5 hours.
Or like Indianapolis Colts. It's got to be close. So it's
Kansas City's a good drive still yet for us here.
I'm one of those oddities. I'm a weird Philly fan. So
and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that while we were growing up too, some of the stars of old is kind of who you gravitate towards. So like I'll always be a Steelers and a Packers fan just because of the old stars on the old teams.
Right.
I was a huge Cordell Stewart fan. From the Steelers,
Colorado,
back in the day,
Buffalo.
Yeah, he was the first kind of Mike Vick type player as far as skill sets. He could just throw it and he could run with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then eventually toward the tail end of his career, they just converted him completely to receiver. And there was another quarterback shortly thereafter. I'm not ringing a bell on the name. Had kind of the same skill sets as well, but again, didn't make the same impact as your Mike Vicks or your Lamar Jacksons of today.
Your West Coast boys.
Honestly, you don't think of it, but Daniel Jones is in that conversation from the Giants too, because he has as much as any other quarterback rushing yards last year. I know in particular, I think he actually had the most and rushing touchdowns for a quarterback. He had ran for just.
I know Justin Fields had the rushing yards record for quarterbacks this year.
Yeah,
and he was like, if he would have played the last game of the year, he would have broke the rushing record for quarterbacks. So he's like,
he's insane with his rushing. I loved the video of the Miami Dolphins head coach telling him just stop running, stop running on the sideline, and everybody was like, reporters are so fucking stuck in the old mud and the rigmarole, I guess, of their job over the years, like sarcasm and humor, and that type of humor doesn't get with them, and that guy's heavy on the sarcasm humor. And he was like, they asked him in the press conference afterwards, what were you saying to Justin Fields? He was like, I just told him to stop running. Well, why were you doing that? Because I wanted him to stop running.
Yeah, I mean, very simple.
I thought it was rude. He kept running, and I didn't like it.
Yeah,
Right. So,
I love Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel is
Great
fantastic
coach. He gets the most out of all of his players. I like Tua a lot, but like Tua, there's another guy
he'll be
that
a
health. That's the most important thing right there for that guy.
Right.
Tua needs good coaching.
Absolutely.
He's very few players can overcome bad coaching. I'm telling you, Kyle Shanahan right now is the best coach in the NFL.
Absolutely.
He is. You could nothing against Brock Purdy, but you could put damn near anybody out there who protects the football and is smart and is a point guard, not a over the top, go ball every time. You can succeed in the 49ers offense. You do a lot of this. You do a lot of that.
A lot of play action.
Hand that ball off. Quick passes. It's coaching. A lot of it's coaching. Anybody can succeed. If you made it to the NFL, you're good enough to be there. It's all about your opportunity, if you get one, and coaching.
Make the right decision in the right time.
Right.
But that's where the good coaching is kind of yin and yang. You have a good coach that can coach that. And one team with Kyle Shanahan's approach too, I see like, earmarks of his dad all over everything that he does, Mike Shanahan. But Kyle Shanahan also is kind of progressed in some coaching schemes over time. So uses a lot of like zone blocking on the offensive line to create holes and gaps. And there's a lot of halfback option routes, even though that they're play action usually in movement going in one direction. He does a lot of trap blocking and things like that where it creates that initial hole. And that's what you need as a running back too. And it seems like they've been through several running backs this year. They've had, I'd say at least 5 different running backs start, I want to say in total. Christian McCaffrey he has now, and he's blowing up, which, I mean, he's always had the talent, but he hasn't had the talent around him and his health. Yeah. For sure.
He's hurt all the time, but this year he stayed healthy. They have Elijah Mitchell's a beast. Trying to think. They have Ayuk. They have Deebo Samuel, who could literally do it all.
Every run play is like 20 plus yards for him.
Yeah, he can run it, throw it. He's thrown touchdown passes. He can. They got Pro Bowlers everywhere. They're going to be tough to beat. And like I said, coaching. Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, and Brady are the only quarterbacks in the league to me that it doesn't matter coaching, they're going to find a way to win.
Right, they got the skills for sure.
Yeah.
Right. They've been around long enough.
Brady's more intelligence than like natural ability. Like his pre-snap, like I can read a defense, I know what they're going to do.
Right.
Is better than anybody's ever.
Right, absolutely.
So that's why he's won 7 Super Bowls, is because nobody prepares more than Tom Brady.
No, not at all. He prepares so much that he lost old Giselle over it.
Yeah, I think, and you know what? Tommy, I hope you keep playing till you're 50. Wherever Tommy goes, I go. So I'm hitching on that wagon.
I mean, he's
Vegas.
He is the goat.
Whether I like him or not.
Yeah, whether I will admit it.
I'm coming back home, Raiders. I'm going to root for the Raiders again. If he's on the Dolphins, fins up. Back to the Bucks, fire those cannons.
Yeah.
Wherever he goes, I go.
Yeah, I don't see him coming
until
back
the Browns get rid of Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I hear you. For sure.
Yeah. Because I'm not on the Browns train, but I haven't got rid of my gear yet.
One thing I wanted to bring up, too, about Christian McCaffrey, it's cool, kind of the connection. So, Kyle Shanahan, Christian McCaffrey, Mike Shanahan had an Ed McCaffrey.
Coached his dad in Denver.
And so both their fathers were in Denver together, which is a really cool connection if you think about it. Like, how many times does that get to happen?
No.
Yeah, that's
not
cool.
very commonly, for sure.
And I want to say Mike McDaniel, yes, family member was on that staff too.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it.
Maybe his dad or something. I can't remember, but maybe I'm making it up, but I thought that was like he was on the staff too, like one of his family members. But
could be. And I know when I was younger, I liked the Cowboys. Back to that conversation about the Cowboys specifically. They had Deion Sanders was my favorite player. Prime
Who
time.
doesn't love prime? I'm rooting for Colorado. I'm going go Buffaloes, baby.
Yeah, Colorado is a college team that I'm going to be rooting for in football.
Make you want to run through a brick wall, Deion. Watch his interview with Shannon Sharp on the Club Shay Shay podcast.
Yeah.
Kind of skip the first couple minutes because they show his amputated toes.
Oh, yeah.
It's fucking gross. After that, skip it. It's a good listen.
Holy shit, I didn't know that they did that.
Deion got his toes amputated.
Oh, my God.
He had like a blood clot or something. And
I didn't know that.
had to get some toes amputated.
That's fucking crazy.
I
pretty
didn't know
gross.
that either. That's brutal.
Wow.
He's getting it like massaged and stuff.
Oh, wow.
It's like foot and leg. It's kind of gross.
Dude, I think I did see clips from that.
Oh, my God, dude. The Cowboys, Dak Prescott, you have to appreciate the talent because you saw other quarterbacks in that offense during his injuries, and the team is not nearly the same.
Except for Cooper Rush.
The Cooper Rush was the exception this year.
Cooper Robert Rush is Skip
But
Bayless
I'm
would
thinking
say.
more years previous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Andy Dalton, for example.
Yeah.
The red rifle.
Yeah.
The red rocket. rock, whatever they call them.
The Red Rocket, more like it.
Yeah.
He's throwing boners all over the field. I'd be curious to see what they do with Cooper Rush. And, that being said, too, Kellen Clemens is being eyed for jobs around the league. And, a lot of teams have asked permission to.
Wait, Kellen Clemens?
Yes. He's the offensive coordinator.
Kellen Moore is.
Kellen Moore, I'm
from
sorry.
From Boise State, yeah.
Kellen Moore. He's getting a lot of requests to be interviewed for open jobs across the NFL, so I'd be curious to see if he ends up getting a job if he doesn't take Cooper with him, because Dak is under a large contract as it is right now.
Right.
And I think Dak has earned every bit of what's come to him. He's one of the stories that I think whether or not you like the Cowboys, you can respect him specifically.
Oh, yeah.
He's an overachiever. 4th-round pick. Wasn't supposed to be the starter. Tony Romo gets hurt his last year, and then he ends up starting the whole year.
Puts in the work.
I mean, here's the deal. I love Dak, and he finally went on the road, won a playoff game against the GOAT, so I'm sold completely, because a lot of talk about Dak is that...
Right. Can't win the big ones.
Can't win a big game. Can't win a...
Said the same thing about Romo.
Yeah, well, I mean, Romo, Dak went and, the Buccaneers were terrible this year.
Yeah.
But he went on the road and beat the GOAT. Tom Brady's never lost to the Cowboys in his entire career until Monday.
Oh, okay.
7-0. Well, 7-1 now.
Jesus.
Which they didn't play him that often back whenever he was in the AFC, of course, because of scheduling. But
yeah,
I can't say that I'm really rooting for anybody in particular, but I would like to see something different go down, and I have been kind of rooting for the Buffalo Bills the last few years specifically.
Hard not to. Great fan base.
Yeah.
They deserve it.
Bills Army, baby.
Any team that loses 4 Super Bowls in a row, I'm gonna feel sorry for you.
Yeah,
I'm not
sure.
like you should have. Wasn't alive for it, but I know a couple were close, and then they got blown out in a couple. And it's just like,
it's
4 in a row. How do you go to 4 in a row?
One of the first Super Bowls I remember watching was the Cowboys against the Buffalo Bills, and that was on the Cowboys run of the '90s when they won. And I remember. None of that meant anything to me at the time, but I remember hearing those things like, oh, they lost all of the Super Bowls they were in, or so on and so forth. And it's a franchise that it's easy to root for because it is underdog story. And, I think that's you can go back to the baseball side of things whenever the Red Sox finally won. That was a huge deal. I remember that, for sure.
Or the Cubs.
Except when they beat the fuck out of us in the World Series.
Oh, man, I'm still salty.
The greatest regular season Cardinals team ever was 2004.
Yes,
and we got... get out the broom swept in the World Series.
Yeah.
Our roster was loaded.
I was so mad. Yeah, I was so mad. That made me a lifelong
All-stars all
Red Sox
over the
hater.
line.
Yeah. It
Literally.
was all coaching decisions. It paired with, our pitchers just not performing.
Right.
We had, people forget this, but Edgar Renteria was an all-star that year.
Yeah.
He was amazing.
Yes.
Edgar Renteria, Tony Womack was an all-star.
Yep.
First base, obviously Albert. Third, Scott Rowland. Center field, Jim Edmonds. Yachty wasn't playing. Mike Matheny was a pretty good catcher.
Yeah.
You had Chris Carpenter, Mark Mulder.
Yes.
We were loaded.
Yeah.
And then we had guys like Reggie Sanders, who was not like a little past his prime,
right?
Who was still like hitting 20 home runs.
That's insane, yeah.
Driving in 60, 70 runs. So
Reggie was a 20-20 guy, 20 stolen bases.
And I want to say we got Larry Walker at the trade deadline.
Yes,
that
we
year.
did. We got Larry Walker as well. And I was a big fan of the Larry Walker trade, and while he was a Cardinal as well. I liked him when he was with the Rockies. He was just a stand-up dude.
Won the MVP with the 1 year with the Rockies. I'm almost certain.
Yeah, fucking great team for sure. But yeah, I remember that prominently. So, back to the football thing, even we could put the Bengals in this conversation. They won some very close games with the 49ers in particular. I go back to that game. Chris Collinsworth was the wide receiver at the time for the Bengals. And that's another franchise that is just overdue for a Super Bowl, so I wouldn't have a problem rooting for them either. I have been leaning more Kansas City now that we don't have the Rams, and I want to be a fan of a team in proximity of me, but I've always been a Titans fan to some extent. Steve McNair to me is just one of the best, most underrated quarterbacks that's ever played the game. In my opinion, Eddie George, one of the most underrated running backs. He didn't have a very long career with intent and purpose. He made that decision himself. I think he kind of had the same thought of Barry Sanders. He wanted to be able to walk away from the game. That's another team that was easy to like for us, but that's still 5.5 hours or so away from where we're at, and it's easy to like the Packers too because Aaron Rodgers, and it's also easy to hate him because of Aaron Rodgers. I know a lot of people don't like kind of the chip on the shoulder that he kind of constantly lives with, but I was a Brett Favre fan. How could you not be whenever I was a kid, and everybody wanted to be like Brett Favre. Yeah. just constantly breaking down plays, running around, throwing shit
And you
around.
also got to think with Aaron Rodgers, too. Think about going from being the type of quarterback with the type of winning team that he was on earlier in his career and what he's going through now, too. I mean, it doesn't give him the right to be a dick, but I get it.
I mean, he's earned some of the ability to do what he does, quite frankly.
Right.
And now I just hate this like drama of every year to year. Is he going to play with the Packers again next year?
Right.
My thing is that he does not work with the young guys. He doesn't go do training camp. You ever notice that the Packers start slow?
Absolutely.
It's partly because of him. He's not.
Yeah.
Brady is with. I hate to compare him. People get pissed when I do, but the people like to also compare him. Brady is with the guy, except for this year. He had some drama going on.
Right.
He is with the guys from the jump of the season. Aaron was going and doing ayahuasca and whatever. I mean,
Right.
I don't hate Aaron Rodgers because he's gifted, one of the most talented throwers of the football I've ever seen. But he's personally, I'm not personally a fan of, like, I'm not rooting for Aaron Rodgers.
Well, and then he had the whole COVID controversy as well.
Yeah, which I don't give a
I don't
rat's
give a
ass
shit,
about,
and
about
it's
that
semantics
anymore.
is what ultimately.
Yeah. He just wanted to be the smartest guy in the room.
Right.
He just wanted to pull a fast one on people.
Right. And then he tried to turn around and act like it wasn't nothing, and there was no ulterior motive in what he was doing or whatever, and that everybody else should have been smart enough to understand what he said was still technically correct. It was whenever he was being asked about whether or not he had taken the vaccine, of course, and had a vaccine card, and he said, I am protected from coronavirus or something. He said it in some weird phrasing.
I'm immunized.
I'm immunized. Yeah, that's what he said.
You should have just pulled the Kirk Cousins and say, if I die, I die. That's fucking hilarious.
Right.
Fucking boss.
Which he's so fucking stupid. I hate Kirk.
I know, I like Kirk Cousins.
Oh my God.
It gets too much hate, and
I'm not even aware of him getting hate. I hate him just because it's like every time this is my big problem with Kirk Cousins. Every time I want to root for him, he fucking cracks.
He plays a stinker.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. I want to get behind him. whenever Mike
fight
Shanahan
change this
actually
year.
Yes. It's hilarious.
On the plane, brother, all time.
It's hilarious.
Or
Well, did you
you
see
like
what they
that?
did with Mike McCarthy?
Yeah.
They got that big gold chain around him with the big Dallas
And
star
then
on it.
Pat McAfee said, Big Mike.
Big Mike. Yeah.
Big Mike.
Oh my God, that was hilarious for sure.
I'm rooting for Mike McCarthy too, because for a guy that's won a Super Bowl and won
Right.
a lot of fucking games, people sure do act
Shit
like
on
he
him.
doesn't know how to coach.
Right. They shit on him a lot.
Yeah, he is definitely.
He's won a Super Bowl.
Good coach.
He didn't get there just by not knowing what the hell he's doing. It was Rodgers that took him to. Have you seen what Rodgers has done in the playoffs? His record is worse without Mike McCarthy in the playoffs.
Right.
Exactly. I think that was a
I love Undisputed, but Skip Bayless calls him Mike McPenalty.
Mike McPenalty.
He does not like Mike McCarthy, and I'm like, would you rather have Mike McCarthy or always grinning and smiling Jason Garrett?
I was
who
gonna say
has
Jason
fucking
Garrett.
The
Oh,
fakest
God.
smile. I mean,
Yeah.
Jason Garrett, the 9-7 Cowboys,
He
the 8.
scares me.
He was just.
He's kind of the Jeff Fisher.
I mean,
time.
I would rather have Mike McCarthy over Jason Garrett
Any day.
every day and
Any
twice on
day.
Sunday.
100%. Dude.
Any day.
Absolutely. But, we've kind of went on a bit of a tangent about the NFL here, but just honestly, I'm looking for good games. I want good competitive games to kind of wrap it up. And, when you see blowouts like last night, it was hard to watch the whole Eagles and Giants game because it was just very evident that there was going to be a very one-sided affair within the first 5 minutes of the
It
game.
was an unscheduled ass whooping.
Yeah,
or maybe
exactly
a scheduled for some people.
Well, for sure. I don't want to see games like that. That was
No.
a huge complaint last year with the expanded playoff. A lot of the games were blowouts. I don't want to see every game like I saw that last night. Even if I want to see a competitive Super Bowl, the best Super Bowls I've ever seen are ones that it came down to the last play. The Pittsburgh Steelers against the Arizona Cardinals.
I was
one of the
Kurt
best
Warner, man.
Super Bowls I've ever watched, ever in my entire life, 2008.
Yeah.
The Eli Manning Super Bowls to me.
Yeah, Eli Manning beating the Patriots, both of those.
Twice.
And,
letting his nuts just fucking hang. Just people say what you want about Eli Manning. He's one of like 5 players to be Super Bowl MVP twice, and beat Tom Brady twice. So say what you want
Bill
about
Belichick. Don't
Yeah.
forget that.
Yeah, and Bill.
Eli
Right.
Manning's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Look,
Yes.
fucking
100%.
I was a little drunk last night. I was on my Eli Manning. I was like, I bought an Eli Manning figure at 6 a.m. Hammered.
really?
So, on the way. I love some Eli Manning.
All right. Let's transition, guys, over into another world of sport or pro wrestling world. I know that toward the end of last episode, I had made mention that Jay Briscoe had recently passed, and that's a rough one for me because I'm a big fan of the Briscoes, and I just know how much family people that they are in general, and they've made career decisions based on the fact of whether or not they would have time with their family. And to me, arguably, best tag team in the last 20 years. And it's really hard. And they were like my age.
Right. Yeah, I
just a
will
couple years
say,
older than
like
me.
the family pictures and stuff that everybody's been sharing, it's just heartbreaking, man. I feel for their
I
family
mean,
so
they're
much.
so important to their community. They closed down all city offices as well as the school. The school
Wow.
was shut down to
Terrible,
mourn
man.
over Jay's loss as well as the accident that both his daughters were in as well. So his daughters were sitting in the back seat. He was on the way to take them to cheerleading practice. And then kind of what's went viral also is videos of Jay practicing that dance routine with his daughter for cheerleading.
Right.
Here in the last few weeks too. So
Yeah.
a lot of just
Heartbreaking stuff.
I've always kind of had to be this way because I was so nervous about originally driving myself as a person, just because I have a lot of anxiety and stuff naturally. Like I didn't even get my license or my permit until, or I think I got my permit when I was like 16.
Yeah.
I just like did not want to drive it. Didn't want the responsibility of it.
Do you have that center line fear? That's what I had. I was always afraid somebody's going to hit me head on.
Yeah, exactly. Or I was going to hit somebody, or an animal would come out on the road, or whatever the case is. Like you have to get behind the wheel with some disassociation. So
Right.
like I drive to work sometimes and don't remember driving to work.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I have to
Yeah.
let my mind wander and
You'd be
think
like,
about other things.
did I pay attention those last 2
Yeah,
miles at all?
exactly.
You're like, if something would have happened, would I have noticed?
Exactly.
Did I hit something?
Right. Like you have to disassociate to some level. At least I do. People with those types of problems. And I think a lot of what went on with him in particular, Jay, he was actually driving in the correct lane, and a woman hit him head on. Now they were supposed to do a toxicology report. I don't know if the results are out with that yet. I don't think it is, to see if she was drunk or inebriated or under the influence of something. There's rumors, murmurs that they found a cell phone in the car. I mean, who doesn't have a cell phone and who doesn't have it in their car when they're driving?
Right.
Doesn't necessarily mean that you're texting while you're driving or messing with your phone or trying to find it while you're driving, whatever the case is. So you really can't jump to that conclusion because
Right.
you weren't sitting there.
And that's really hard
She
to
had
prove.
nobody else in the car.
Right.
So it's
really
not like
hard
you're
to
going to get
prove.
witnesses. She hit it such force head on that it immediately killed both drivers. And luckily, Jay, like every adult should, had his young daughters all sitting in the back, even though that one of them was probably, close enough in age and size to sit up front. He didn't have her sit up front. She was sitting in the back. So, if you're a parent out there, let's think about where you're putting your kids in the car strategically and what can happen.
Right.
Let this kind of be a lesson, because, you're going to be, think you're going to be a cool parent and let your kid that's on the verge of the size and the weight that they need to be up in the front seat, and something like that happens, you're going to be constantly regretting it.
Yeah.
So it's just a whole sad situation. It's nothing that he did. I think sometimes it makes it easier for you to hear the news of things like this. Not that it's good or easy at all, but easier, I should say, in some senses. If you hear it's like a drug overdose or something to that out, because you can put a finality to it. This person did something wrong, so this is why they're dead. This is a cause and effect. This is a consequence.
Right. In this situation, he's completely innocent.
Yeah, he didn't do anything to put his life in jeopardy or his daughter's lives in jeopardy.
Right.
And here his daughter's lives are still currently in jeopardy to some extent, although one of the girls did end up getting feeling all the way back to her toes again.
Good deal.
That had lost the numbness, so
Good
she
deal.
does have feeling completely now, and she'd had to go through a couple emergency surgeries. Initially she was like paralyzed from the neck down. Like it's just an entirely rough situation. So
Yeah, thoughts and vibes with the Briscoe fam, for sure.
and I know it's like kind of early to be having this talk or whatever too, but where does Mark's career go now? Because everything he did was a tag team and with his brother.
Right.
And I mean, I couldn't blame him if he wanted to just walk away from wrestling. I think he's like 39 or 40. Actually, it was his birthday the day after Jay passed, and he
Damn.
just turned 38. I think it was.
Jesus, man.
It's just it's rough stuff, man. But that's going to lead me into some of the discussion that we're going to have. So I'd like for us to kind of just talk about big moments in wrestling, big wrestlers, tag teams, male, female, feuds, and then we'll kind of get into the Royal Rumble predictions and kind of go down what match card is there.
Real quick, I do have a question for you boys. What's going on with the whole McMahon thing?
Oh, that's a very good question. So
He's left, now he's back. Now his daughter's left, right?
that's correct.
Okay, so now what's...
So what actually, let's timeline wise, this is very interesting to follow these trajectories, decisions and things. Where it kind of starts is actually Stephanie takes a resignation to essentially, I think her phrasing was to spend more time with her family. And so I think that's because she already knew, because within weeks of that happening is when Vince had to step down.
Right.
So I think she kind of got the news. Rumor has it that her dad had this affair, was going to break, that sort of deal. So she kind of wanted to circle the wagon. Stephanie did leave. And also Hunter, Hearst Helmsley, Triple H, Paul Levesque, whatever you're going to go by. He had just had a heart condition as well. I can't remember exactly what.
He has to wear a defibrillator, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he has to wear like a defibrillator. He had a heart attack or something.
Yeah.
They kept not calling it a heart attack, but I think also the WWE does the spin stuff.
Right.
You know, and that is they don't want you to ever associate a person's condition with working there.
Right.
So, or taking steroids or, you know, something like that.
They can't even say hospital.
They may say medical facility.
It drives Jim Cornette crazy. He says, what fucking human says medical facility?
for
Yeah,
sure.
nobody says that
It's
shit.
not that way. Well, it wasn't that way anymore because right away, whenever Hunter took over, they were using phrases that were banned, like pro wrestling, hospital,
Belts.
Yeah, belts. Belts was
The
said.
Miz, he's like a belt is something with the Cody when they did the Miz. That was actually a good moment, underrated. He says a belt is something you hold up with your pants with.
Yeah.
I fucking love that.
That was a Vince, and because it's a Vince lines. But WWE was really getting fun without Vince around, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
It seemed like there was more liberties and more sensical storylines. It still wasn't perfect, but Hunter was also operating in kind of these guidelines of the PG era and have to take sponsorships, you know, into consideration. And for years now, and I'll say like the last 5 years, there's been like, who is the WWE eventually going to sell to at some point?
Right.
Because they're a very successful public company. They're a profitable company, and they make easy money. A lot of that has to do with the TV. Well, yeah. So Vince gets caught up in this sexual assault allegations and what have yous.
Right.
And so he steps down by the advisement of his inner circle. Then that brings Stephanie back to the company. So Stephanie is the chairwoman and co-CEO with Nick Khan. Well, Nick Khan's been here this whole time. He was actually hired in the last 5 years. So which is in part this discussion as to how is the WWE going to sell, how they're going to get the most money. Nick Khan is a power broker in LA, or was anyways, previous, a lot of TV contracts and things like that. So he was more of a representative for networks to get deals done. Well, he went to kind of the agent side of things and then started representing organizations that were working with these TV networks trying to get TV deals. So your sports teams, particularly, you know, in this case, WWE. And then WWE noticed his talents right away. Vince was impressed with him, so he hired him. And there's been kind of a bone of contingency and jealousy with that move, supposedly. I mean, we're going by dirt sheet reports and things like that. But Stephanie did talk as though she is very favorable of Nick Khan and happy to work with him still yet. So Nick Khan has always been there to get these deals done. He got the Fox deal done with them for SmackDown and these TV rights deals. He got a renewal of USA a few years back. It was more of a short-term one, but he brokered that deal as well. Nick Khan gets like something like 10% of every deal that he gets done or that WWE has. So that's going to include the sales, though that's in the language of his contract. Is he was going to get 10% of whatever that deal ultimately ends up being.
Holy shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Attaboy.
Think if WWE goes to sell for $7 billion, which I know that they're at least valued over $5 billion. So think that they go and sell, or let's say the Saudis get in, which is another funny thing we could bring up. But let's say the Saudis get in and money's not an object, so they just throw down $10 million to blow everybody out, or $10 billion to throw everybody out of the water, which is a very real thing. It can happen.
Yeah.
Think about how much money Nick Khan's going to get if they sell.
10% of $10 billion?
Yeah.
He's going to be Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah.
He ain't going to have to do a fucking thing for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how much $1 billion is.
No, they
versus-
don't.
I think $1 billion fill up this house?
It depended on, you know, what bills that you had it in, but certainly if it was
It's a
in
lot
ones.
of money.
Yeah, no
There's
question.
actually a video on YouTube that describes how much wealth people have, and they do it in grains of salt and sand, and you should check it out.
Oh, I'd have to check that out for sure.
It's
That's interesting.
insane, dude. They have a pile of what $1 billion is versus what $1 million is in grains of salt and sand, and it's incredible.
You know, once you had $1 billion, why fucking care about getting any more?
Well, that's
like
the thing,
McMahon,
that's
like,
Vince.
you got a couple, sit at home, start knitting, yarn, whatever.
Yeah, he's like 76 or 77.
That's like
Golf.
Elon. Look at Elon losing a couple $1 billion. You think he cares?
No.
He's sitting on multiple billions, but he
Right.
don't give a shit.
I just like Vince. I respect Vince McMahon a
Oh,
lot
absolutely.
for
Right.
what he did for the business.
Right.
And
He
I
made
think
WWE what it is,
people
right.
dunk on him because it's cool to dunk on him.
Sure.
But if it wasn't for Vince McMahon, a lot of your favorites would not be. There would be no Hulk Hogan without
Right.
Vince McMahon.
Exactly. Right.
There'd be no Ultimate Warrior.
Ultimate Warrior for sure. Undertaker.
Undertaker.
Yeah.
I think
Iconic.
Brother Bruce, he would be in. I think he had a lot to do with the Undertaker too.
Well,
Right?
I'd say more so Kane.
Okay, Kane. Yeah,
That's Bruce's invention.
yeah. But
Iconic people in the business.
Vince, you just stay at home, man. You don't.
Yeah.
You don't got nothing to prove. Like, I can say this: if I was in his position at his age, I would know. Like, I'm not the best guy for product knowledge at this point. I'm
Right.
an old fucking man.
Even if you are, it's like he's obviously very defined health, but he gets around okay.
Oh, yeah, he
and
gets-
he looks
he's
better
like-
than most 76-year-olds, if
He's
not
jacked,
better than all of
too.
them.
Oh, he's like before Jericho left WWE. This
Yeah.
is like 2016, 15. Have you heard the story about him and Jericho getting hammered on a plane ride back? Absolutely
Yeah.
hammered. And then Jericho didn't get up in time for his workout when they touched down. And Vince texted Jericho and said, "McMahon 1, Jericho 0."
Yeah,
And it's Vince fucking flexing in the mirror.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Like with 2 hours of sleep.
You know, seeing him at WrestleMania last year, he doesn't look the way he used to, but he's also 76, 77.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
he's
my
pushing
guy's
80.
still looking better
right.
than
And he looks
most.
incredible, right?
he looks better than I do, and I'm 25.
Dude, he's fucking snagging women that's 30 years younger than him.
Oh, his
You know,
birthday
just-
party. Like
yeah.
with Cena and all them. That wasn't Linda.
Yeah,
That
no
was
shit.
Linda.
No, not at all. So, anyways, this went from then Stephanie was in charge and things were kind of turning around, and some of those responsibilities were delegated to Nick Khan. And then Vince basically tells everybody he wants to come back, which there was already murmurs of this like a month ago, and everybody was like, "Oh no." Well, Vince still owns a majority shares of the company that is WWE, that's publicly traded, and the type of stock that he has, which is I think it's Class B stock is what they call it, is weighted differently than Class A. So it actually, let's say 1 unit of Class B stock might equal 10 units or 100 A stock.
It's similar in coins, too.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Kind of like coin conversion is a way to look at it, or dollar or monetary conversions. But yeah, so Vince owns like 80% of those shares, or 88, something astronomical in that Class B stock, which that makes him still the owner of that company.
Right. Basically, they're not going to do shit without him.
Exactly right. So he can like play hardball. And so this is kind of what's also, I mentioned that to get to this, that's what's kind of weaseled his way back into the WWE, is the fact that he can block a sale, or he can create a sale, or he can make threats, to the other shareholders and the board to move in an action versus a way that they do not. So like the TV rights deals, for example, maybe he wants to try and sell before it's time for the TV rights deals to be up, because that's coming up, so he can get the most money out of his product, or he wants to negotiate a new TV rights deal, and he's coming back actually to stop them from selling the company, which I find doubtful, but it's neither here nor there. Vince can manipulate the decisions of the board beyond the fact that he now has majority members on the board, because he brought back 2 people, and 2 people immediately resigned when he came back. And I think there's 2 other openings still yet, because Stephanie counted for a board seat, regardless of, if she was the chairwoman or not. So they had to make up for that one. And I know there's another one, I forget what that vacancy is for.
So now that he's back, did she resign citing her
She
family
resigned,
stuff?
Yeah,
again?
she resigned effectively immediately, not for any reason. She didn't explain the reason why explicitly. She just said it's time for me to step down with the return of Vince McMahon overseeing. And now they're acknowledging, though publicly, they're trying to sell the company.
Yeah.
So everything in these, Vince has mentioned that in his statement in returning to the chair. Stephanie has mentioned that in her statement in resignation. They're apparently going through and cleaning out the front office right now, positions to sweeten the book.
Sounds like the ATI podcast needs to get a loan and buy up the WWE.
Yeah.
We're going to start a GoFundMe, so if you guys want to, I'll let you know the link after the show. So
for the down payment of a $7 billion
it's going to
company.
be the ATI wrestling company.
And then living like in the most expensive state in the how isn't Connecticut like incredibly expensive to live in?
Yes.
Anything in New England's outrageous. Man.
Because Boston is, it's a small state to start with, and then there's Boston and all these suburbs in Connecticut. And then it, of course, borders up next to like New York, New Jersey, or it's just about right away.
You're an hour away from everything.
Yeah.
On the East
major
Coast.
cities. Like you can hop on a train and get to Philadelphia quickly, or New York quickly from Metropolis. It's just on a scale that we don't even realize here, regardless of whether or not we've been there. It's impossible for you to like understand how big of a city that is.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see where the WWE is going to go. And there's some rumors of Saudi Arabia, and coincidentally in May, which timing wise is looking like needs to be the time that we need to start talking about sales and what have you. Once we get to May, that's also the same as the big Saudi Arabia show. That's the next big Saudi Arabia show is going to line up with that. They're looking at it as a second WrestleMania, supposedly in-house. They're talking about possibly stacking the card too as well.
So getting rid of WrestleMania Backlash.
I think it's replacing. Triple H wants to make Money in the Bank not its own pay-per-view anymore.
Which I would agree. I don't think it needs to be.
It needs to be on WrestleMania. I think it needs to be the feature match on WrestleMania, in my opinion.
That's what all the best ones were when it was on WrestleMania.
It'd be good for them to, of course the title match is always going to close out the show, but it would help build that anticipation. Are they going to cash in immediately or are they going to wait, too? And I think that they do it. They make Money in the Bank its own pay-per-view because they want to be able to do that independently and make a lot of money on it too, which I would say it's probably the fourth or fifth, biggest pay-per-view per year. It's hard to say now that it's a part of the network and it's included in your Peacock subscription, but I think it started to get there. It was, used to be your big three, regardless of what, has always been WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Royal Rumble, but Survivor Series was pretty much in that 4 slot for the longest time. Survivor Series has gotten prostituted out over the last several years.
Kind of fucking sucks now.
Pretty much sucks constantly. I had pretty good hope for it this year because they basically made it the War Games.
Kind of bleh.
But yes, I agree. It was kind of the best thing about it. I think wasn't the triple threat match between Seth Rollins,
that was
Bobby
good.
Lashley, and Austin Theory. Yeah, that was an excellent match. But yeah, the War Games matches were kind of the drama with the Sammy stuff at the end was good, but I think they still could have capitalized on that a little bit better storytelling wise. But yeah, so the WWE is kind of in a weird state right now. Triple H is has brought back a lot of talent too. We should mention that Vince cut your Killer Crosses, your Bronson Reeds,
Braun Strowman.
Yeah, Braun Strowman, for example. So several people have been brought back, and I don't know that they've really proven that to be a good decision. A lot of the talent, like somebody like Top Dollar doing that dive in the corner in the ring on
I couldn't
SmackDown,
tell
he
you
got himself
one
caught up.
Top Dollar match that I've seen this year since he's been back. Bray Wyatt's been the coolest, obvious, since Triple H just took over, the coolest return. But even him he's kind of it's just kind of getting kind of
blah because
again kind of idling a little bit.
Yeah, they're taking too long to tell whatever the hell story he's telling, and it's almost incoherent in some respects.
The first few weeks were great, and then it's
Absolutely.
Okay. But I'm excited to see what happens. It's Bray Wyatt. I'll always be a fan. That dude could be an actor if he wanted to.
No question. I think that's kind of what some of the criticism of him is that what he does is not professional wrestling. It's dramatic television or something of that ilk.
But whatever he says,
it's captivating. Everybody's listening.
I don't understand a word he's talking about, but it makes you want to watch it.
Yeah, for sure. He's got a way of speaking. His voice too is entrancing. I don't know. It's not that it's monotone. He's just a character. Overall, he is a gimmick. He's got this weird charisma about him. Not the type of the charisma of let's say Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. The kind of more stereotypical charisma that you think, but he's got a weird charisma about him.
He's got Mick Foley vibe.
Yeah.
Mankind
for sure.
Mankind for sure.
Yeah.
Waylon Mercy, that Dan Spivey Waylon Mercy character, which didn't last very long. Go look at his promos and Bray Wyatt's early promos, and they're I guarantee you he watched that.
Oh, I have no doubt about it. His dad, Mike Rotunda was in the business, wrestled with a lot of those people. But
he was at the IRS. He was coming for you.
Yeah, for sure. But I think this pivots us nicely into let's start talking about some of our favorite things that were from 2022 in wrestling. Let's start off with some male performers of the year. In my mind, I thought 3 would be good enough. Not that we have to keep it to any specific number, but I know that Jake and I are probably going to have a lot of crossover. And I think that even perhaps the most underrated male performer of the year, but definitely in my top 3, would have to be Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins has went out and had amazing matches all year long, been playing a heel, almost lost. He's lost a good chunk of matches.
He's lost more matches than he's won this year.
Yeah, and he's lost on pay-per-view an astronomical amount of times.
And he was getting beat like a rug, but it's okay.
But it doesn't matter because of how good he is.
Yeah, absolutely.
He is his character. He believes he's his character. There's some kind of, even, if you see some of his interviews and stuff, he's kind of kayfabe to an extent. He kind of talks in character to a degree, but makes it sound real in real life. I think it was either Sports Illustrated or ESPN. He had done an interview with not too long ago, and they got into talking to him about some of his things, like Matt Riddle. He was having a feud with at the time. He's like, I don't like Matt Riddle. We have a problem. And he went into the reason why and shared so he just took something that he said the wrong way as a disrespect toward him and his wife, Becky now. And he said, he's like, I don't really care for him. So it was like he made his real life thing translate over into wrestling, which it's hard this day now because people just go out and say, oh yeah, I'm playing a character on the TV, or the character that I'm playing on TV, or they hold these press conferences talking out of character. It's like, it's not what it used to be. The Undertaker was the fucking Undertaker everywhere he went.
Everywhere.
Right, yeah.
It's just, to me, that's the reason that the business isn't popular.
They didn't go to the heels and babyfaces, went to different hotels and bars.
Right. They kept them separated, different dressing rooms. I think Seth Rollins is actually trying to lean into, he's more of a modern wrestler, obviously, been a great wrestler for 10 years plus. But I think he's kind of leaning back into kind of some of the old school teachings and thoughts. And his matches do have a routine to them in the sense of I would call it almost Ric Flair-esque. You're going to see the Falcon Arrow transition from the superplex every time. You're going to see a corner turnbuckle probably every single time. You're going to see a missed curve stomp probably every single time. That's just kind of the state. But the way he builds it, I've seen him just have nothing but amazing matches this year. So Seth Rollins would definitely be a name in my top 3. Would he be in yours, Jake? Or
no, but he would be close. I'm going to go with
somebody you got.
Underrated for me after seeing. I've talked to you about this, but I went to the Cape Girardeau live event this year. Mm-hmm. Those like BNC Town events are oddly fun because it's not super expensive. You can get real close,
right?
And it's just like cool live event matches. Sometimes they're even better than the TV matches because they get to get a little more time and do a little more stuff.
Stuff that they don't normally do.
But this guy is dynamite and should be a single star immediately. Montez Ford has grown on me and become one of my favorites this year. That dude can talk.
He's worked on his look too.
Absolutely. He has blown me away this year. Everything.
Yeah, I agree. I think in the future that he's destined to be a big singles star. He's not there right now, obviously. I think what would really benefit him is either pairing him up in a stable with more experienced people or giving him a more experienced manager by his side. Either or would achieve the same sort of thing, but pairing him up on the team would be kind of the line of thinking of like Evolution, for example. What they did with Batista and Randy Orton. They were both so young in the business at the time. Randy Orton literally young in age. He was like 19. But Batista, he was new to the business as well himself. And, having those opportunities allowed those guys to excel and be big team players within 2 years. That group was an offshoot Evolution because they had the Ric Flairs and the Hunter Hearst Helmsleys to advise them and teach them about the business. It's just incredible. Like nowadays they don't see the formulas that were successful in the past and don't try to apply them is beyond me. I don't understand. Montez Ford is a guy to me that could benefit from being in a stable or with a manager. But yeah, I don't know that I'd put him in my top 3 for sure. And it seems like that the tag team division hasn't meant a lot in the WWE, unfortunately.
No, he just impressed me like with his singles matches, his tag matches, and it's somebody that I paid a lot of attention to this year.
He had a good singles match with Roman this year, I think it was. And I think that was kind of built up in anticipation whenever them and the Usos were having a tag team feud.
Him and Seth Rollins had one too on Raw. That was pretty good. And his partner's good too. Angelo Dawkins has improved a lot too. I
used to
Montez
despise
Ford
him, but he has gotten a lot better.
And he's become he's gotten a lot more athletic. It seems like he's
getting more comfortable too. I think that has a lot to do with it. I think maybe another guy that would definitely be on my list and certainly on yours, Jake, is Cody Rhodes too. Even though he's been injured quite a bit of the year, he started off the year technically 2020 in AEW as the TNT champion. Did business on the way out, lost it back to Sammy,
which was a great match,
and it was a great, fantastic match. And he had a way of just having great matches with everybody because he actually leaned into the storytelling. You can go back to the first Double or Nothing of AEW in 2019.
The greatest match in AEW
One of the
history.
best professional wrestling matches I've ever seen. It might even be on my top 5 of all time. And you have to think about, that's with your Austins and Rocks. That's with your Austins and Bret the Hitman Hart matches. With your, Christopher Benoit and Eddie Guerrero matches up in my mind. Kurt Angle matches, the amazing
Flair
matches
Steamboat.
he's had. Yeah, Flair Steamboat. That's another great feud. Flair Funk. Another great feud. It was a great match between Cody and his brother Dustin. And that's the thing I miss and I cherish and I want in professional wrestling. And Cody is a character who tries to bring that with everything he's doing. Don't get me wrong, he had some misses back in AEW.
Oh, buddy,
but
when he was
that
doing
had a lot to do with Tony Khan, too.
The Anthony Ogogo, the House of Black shit.
Yeah.
I could give... That's what I was not interested in Cody in.
The House of Black stuff too was really unfortunate too, because that had a lot of potential and started.
I like the guys
good.
in House of Black.
Yeah.
Brody King, God's hate, love Brody King. Buddy Matthews, luckiest man in the world, and
no doubt. It's got Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
And Malachi Black's very talented, but the group hasn't worked for me.
Right.
Personally,
it was kind of missing, and again, but I think a lot of that has to go with booking decisions and the whole turning the lights off and back on shit too. It's like that used to mean something, and it's been prostituted out too much now.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean what it used to. Cody is a guy who brings again a bit of a legitimacy and realism to the business, and I have to mention him for sure. And I know he's been out injured, but back to our Seth Rollins talk, he and Seth Rollins had some of the best matches this year, if not the best matches, in my opinion, over 3 pay-per-views. And for him and Seth to have the match that they had at WrestleMania, with Cody only being out of AEW, what was it, like 2 or 3 weeks, if that? And there was a lot of rumor that, Seth's mystery opponent might be Cody. A lot of people were like betting on who it would be. And so it wasn't completely a surprise, but I think the crowd reacted in a way that they were very surprised and very happy. It was one of the biggest pops I'd ever seen. And you're talking about at AT&T Stadium, that's 100,000. I think they had to have some blocked off for the staging and such, but I think they had well over 60,000, if not 80,000 people there at that WrestleMania, somewhere in between. And that was one of the loudest pops I'd heard in a long time.
And it was time for him to come back.
Yeah.
He did everything he needed. He did
thing.
Everything he needed to do. He went to the Indies, killed it.
Yes.
Started literally. There would be no AEW without Cody Rhodes.
I agree 100%.
He was a big factor in that.
100%.
So whether you like him or hate him from moving on, he said he knew it was time to come back. And guess what? I thought he did it at the right time.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, injuries. But he didn't even need a full 2022 to make a big impact
and to make my list.
Yeah, he literally wrestled half the year.
Damn.
Yeah, he's been injured for quite some. And well, we should mention this too. Literally wrestled his last match injured. That Hell in a Cell match that he had with Cody with a torn bicep.
Yeah, I seen pictures from that. That was brutal, dude.
Half of his body was just completely purple and red and pink. I mean, it was unreal, dude. Like, it takes balls to wrestle like that.
Hell yeah, I wouldn't do
It
that.
takes like 25 minutes.
Yeah, it takes balls to get in the ring with half those guys.
And that's in contention for match of the year as well. Specifically, I know it's made a few people's lists in the wrestling business.
It's my match of the year for sure.
It is. Their trilogy matches are great. So
you can just put that down as my top 3. Seriously,
yeah.
Every match, the WrestleMania Backlash match, they upped it every time.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I would have to say my other, if I was just keeping it to 3, is going to have to be Maxwell Jacob Freeman.
Well, we're similar on 2 or 3 here.
I think that he is the best thing, perhaps, or arguably in wrestling, period. The guy keeps the kayfabe up. He's a dick on Twitter. He's a dick in real life.
He's a dick to his parents.
He's a dick to his parents. He's a
like,
dick to his fiance.
Doesn't his mom bring I hate my son signs?
Posters.
that's a great gimmick, dude.
Yeah, MJF is just a fucking dick. And now he's starting to put the whole package together. One thing about him when he started, and I'm not big into body shaming because I'm kind of, I've got some flaws myself, but MJF didn't have the physique at first, and he was also very young, so a lot of people didn't get it until they heard him talking. Also he has more traditional wrestling matches, I would say, as far as movesets and stuff, but he can do a little bit of glitz and glam here and there. He has his high spots. His wrestling style pisses off the fanboy, video game playing IWC folks, the keyboard
which is not for me. That's why I love MJF.
Right. And MJF has real matches with real holds and wrestling maneuvers, and
he makes you feel something. That's what he said in the promo. Is it because I make you feel something, or I don't have to do flip and flop and it doesn't, brother? Hulk Hogan leg drop, big boot, and you're out of your seat.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. Have you ever watched any of Hulk Hogan's Japanese matches?
And he's doing high spots.
Yeah, he's doing leg scissors and shit, and
he's doing a cross. He did a cross body or some shit.
Doing a cross arm breaker. Yeah,
doing wild shit,
incredible shit. You never saw him wrestle like that.
No, it was
in the States.
That doesn't work for me, brother.
Yeah, right.
You're taking the leg drop.
Say that to say this. Just because you can do it, doesn't mean you should do it.
Right.
And MJF is a guy, in my opinion, who's the best at knowing his character, staying in his lane, making decisions that revolve around his character that make sense, works the gimmick constantly, Like, the guy is already getting movie parts. He's going to be in the Von Erichs movie, A24 film we've talked about here on the show.
Which Von Erichs is he playing? The one like the
fake brother?
They did.
I think it was
the Von Erichs were like, let's make like a fake cousin or brother.
Yeah, they were trying to add members to the family to help because they were actually having. Well, some of them were dying, like literally, and like
Kevin,
the family was thinning out.
That's the only one alive.
So now Kevin, Von Erich, his group of brothers is the only one left alive. He's got 2 sons in the business who I would love to see in WWE, but they will never probably wrestle there just because of the schedule and what have you. But yeah, the Von Erichs and MJF. Well, I didn't think he was going to be. I didn't really see him as a Von Erich. I'll say that at first. And
you see Zac Efron as a Von Erich?
No, I guess I don't either.
Dude,
but
High School Musical.
Talk about somebody that's putting in the fucking work for a role. That motherfucker.
Is he getting jacked?
Oh my
dude, he
God,
looks like a
bro.
fucking linebacker.
Yeah,
He is fucking
stacked.
jacked. There was a set.
Is he's doing Kerry Von Erich, right?
Yes.
Oh man, dude.
Yeah.
I'm gonna love this movie because I love the Von Erich
that
family.
kid from the Bears in it too. The lead actor. The show.
From Shameless, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Is he? Dude, who would he? He's got to be playing like David or something.
No.
Or is he playing Kevin?
I think he's playing Kevin.
So he's going to be barefoot.
Yeah.
I always thought that was neat.
Oh, that's another thing too. I like the barefoot end of things. So
Jeremy Allen White.
Speaking of that, just a real quick tangent. I watched with my dad a few months ago. Kevin Von Erich world title match with Ric Flair in WCCW when Flair came into the territory.
Yeah.
Banger.
was that the cage match?
No, it was because Kerry was obviously the biggest single star, but Kevin
Was the best wrestler.
Yeah, I mean Kevin could go in his match with Ric Flair. It was like at a stadium or some shit.
Yeah, they had a lot of stadium shows.
And it was amazing.
Just to put it into perspective, this article from MovieWeb.com says Jeremy Allen White has added over 40 pounds of muscle to play pro wrestler in this Iron Claw movie.
Cannot wait.
Yeah.
Who's going to play Chris Von Erich?
I don't think they've announced it. I don't think they've announced it.
Because he's the one that like really wasn't a good wrestler. And
right.
He had like bone problems.
Yeah.
Like they talked about it. Like he would get in the ring and he'd like break a fucking bone every time he would
he's
take a
pretty
bump.
frail. Back to MJF. He's a star. He's not a star in the making. He's a star now. And even when he's in shit that like nobody, well, let me put it like this. I respect Chris Jericho. I think he's one of the best to ever do it. But, Chris Jericho nowadays, I'm not a big fan of what he's doing. I'll be the first to say it. JAS sucks. And what he was doing with Max, MJF, I didn't care for it personally. It was great that they finally broke up, and then MJF went on and created his own stable.
It's just every time
Jericho works with somebody, things don't usually work out for that person.
They last forever.
Yeah, and they're too long for sure. They don't know when to stop.
And I've said this to you before, I hate talking trash or even saying anything negative about Chris Jericho. He's top 5 wrestler for me all time, and I love the dude. I think he's a good dude, but he lately has just been the wizard shit. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like he's had some funny moments, like the dancing is funny, but it's not, or the mimosa match, like it's not the list. Like I really do think that he needed some filter sometimes.
Right. For sure. No, I agree, and
because he's doing whatever he wants right now.
I think he's just. It's not that he's not trying. He's definitely trying. It's the mystique. I was talking with my wife about this the other day. That was Chris Jericho. Was he would come in. He was very focused on the shit that he was doing. It was good. It was very direct. It had a very clear, storyline linearly. And then he would go away for a while.
And that's why I think I like him so much.
Now.
He has stayed.
He works so infrequently.
And I love Fozzy too. But Fozzy, you need to go on a long tour.
Yeah, see, there's the
thing
thing
You need to take up some more Ugly Kid Joe dates because I just saw that they're going on tour with Ugly Kid Joe.
I do like Ugly Kid Joe. But
Fozzy's going on tour with him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fozzy, I'm not a big fan of Fozzy either, but that's neither here nor there. It's just, Chris Jericho doesn't do the things that he used to do that was kind of the keys to his success as well. I think anything oversaturation is not good. And I think that's kind of in part what the phenomenon is going with Chris Jericho. But MJF rebounded from his feud with Jericho. Everybody, I can sit here and give you a whole list of people that have feuded with Jericho and what are they doing right now? Claudio, what's he doing? That's like the more recent one.
Eddie Kingston.
Eddie Kingston is the most devastating one to me because the timing of everything. He did that Players Tribune article. It was amazing. He's a guy who has not been given anything in life, and he has worked for everything. I mean, he is the everyman. And then him and Jericho had actually a great match.
Yeah, Jericho's best match in a long
I've seen
time.
of Jericho since maybe when he
Japan.
first got into AEW or Japan.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like, I was very impressed by him and Chris. They had a good style, like 80s Japanese match, like when it was fucking good. MJF has remained to be on top. And finally, let's mention the most obvious thing, AEW Championship finally. And that, to me, which is going to help lead me into the next thing I want to talk about, is actually some feuds and moments, because Jake's already touched on that, is that CM Punk and MJF had one of my favorite feuds of the year, definitely a top 3 feud for me. And that was what was going to be great about MJF's eventual winning of the championship, was that he and CM Punk had a long, drawn-out feud throughout the year. But it was on a trajectory. It was, they were hitting all the hallmarks along the line. And that was MJF finally won his dog collar match with MJF. Or, CM Punk won, with MJF. And so then MJF went away for a while, and he come back, and he won the diamond ring, or whatever, the briefcase, the fucking rip-off of Money in the Bank that they tried to do. CM Punk became champion there at All Out. It was very obvious. MJF came back out at the end of the night when CM Punk was celebrating him, winning back the title. It was clear that they were going to have a feud, and that was going to be the means for MJF to finally get the title, was from CM Punk. Who'd you beat? That's one of the biggest things in the business that gives gravity to you winning a championship. Who did you beat, is what the old timers say.
Right.
If MJF beat CM Punk, that was the only other thing that he needed to make himself a superstar in the business.
Yeah, he's made at that point.
And that's exactly where they were going. That feud in and of itself, and I think they won feud of the year in a couple of wrestling magazines, PWI in particular, which is interesting enough. MJF took pictures with it, but taped out CM Punk's name on the plaques.
Hilarious.
That's awesome.
And CM Punk caught it. And so CM Punk responded to him on Twitter with his picture and said, how's the ratings doing, bud? Which is hilarious.
That's funny, too.
They've had one of the best feuds, 2 great talkers. And again, I've already, showered MJF, and I think we've talked here on the show before, my like and love for CM Punk as a character and a wrestler. So, unfortunately, we didn't get to see it in the complete sense that I think that we should have. And that's something that was going to lead eventually, I guess, to Full Gear, another pay-per-view for them that's already passed. But yeah, so I would say definitely, one of my guys is MJF, of course, and then the top feud with CM Punk for the year. What's a big feud or moment for you, Jake, from last
Cody
year?
and Seth, all 3 matches, and that's nothing else to be said. Go watch WrestleMania. Go watch WrestleMania Backlash. Go watch Hell in a Cell if you haven't. Great storytelling. They didn't overdo it. I see why people got mad about them doing 3 pay-per-view matches, but they did it right. I don't want them to do another one. I heard rumors that they're gonna fucking wrestle again. I was like, no,
stop it.
Right.
You're
he
like,
better
"God damn
be.
it."
He better be going for Roman Reigns. No more bullshit. So, but yeah, that's my feud of the year.
I mean, Cody came back to be booked on top, I think, in WWE, and certainly he's as big of a star as anybody that they have there, with the exception of a few people. So I think that is where they're going to go eventually, and Seth and Cody definitely were going to be on my list too. I think we kind of already showered them earlier when we were talking about Seth Rollins and the year that he's had, but that series of matches, the 3, some of my more modern, favorite feuds. There's not a lot that have stuck out in my mind in the last 5 or 6 years since I've returned to wrestling. That is definitely a feud that has stuck with me, even though, yes, it's a little bit fresher, but it's up there with the AJ Styles and John Cena feud.
Yep.
It's up there with which I think is a very underrated feud, Dolph Ziggler and The Miz over the Intercontinental title back on SmackDown whenever they first did the brand split again.
SmackDown Live.
Yeah, that to me is one of the best feuds that they've had in the last few years. There's just a lot of feuds that we could, sit here and throw out over the years that have been great, just more recent history. But I would definitely put Cody and Seth up there. And specifically those 3 matches that they had.
I tuned into Raw, fucking 3 hours of Raw for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they had a continuing thread through some of the shows as well. They were cutting good promos on each other as well, so it was another thing to enjoy. Cody had some good, solo promos in the ring. Cody can talk, he can hit on the emotions. He's got a professionalism about him. He dresses like he's a star. That's another thing that people miss entirely that MJF also hits on. dress like a fucking star.
Yeah, man.
You're coming in fucking sweatpants.
Even
and
if you're not a
sneakers.
superstar, be a fucking superstar.
No, we're wearing alligators.
No
we're wearing,
shit.
you know,
Gucci belts, fucking
absolutely.
all of it, baby.
Cody dresses the part. He's well manicured. You know, he looks keen. He looks like a fucking superstar. So
You want the part, you got to play the part.
Even with the neck, even with the neck tattoo.
even that shitty neck tattoo doesn't.
I love you,
distract.
Cody.
What does
but
it say, Black Sabbath?
No,
It's
My bad.
it's like the
different-
American Nightmare logo.
that's a different Mama's Boy.
Okay, my bad. Sorry, I had to throw that one in there.
But yeah, that's definitely top feuder moment for me too, which already takes up 2 of my 3. But I'm going to go ahead and throw another one out there that people probably wouldn't think that inside the box with this one, so I'm going outside the box. The biggest angle to me in 2022 is Brawl Out. No question.
Brawl out.
Brawl Out. The CM Punk and the Elite feud.
Oh, okay. I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
They had a brawl after All Out. A fucking fight.
It was like his dog was, or somebody's
dog
dog
was
was involved.
Now, was this
Hilarious.
gimmick or is this real?
Now there are people that are starting to have theories that this is gimmick and it was something a part of. It doesn't make any sense to me why it would be, and I'm going to get into that in a moment, but there are theories out there that people think that this was staged, you know, to get some buzz around the company. But I don't know how that draws you any money right now. Like, you know, the first few days, yes, for people tuning in, but now the big problem with that is the fact that CM Punk apparently in his match with Jon Moxley tore his tricep or something to that effect, and then to add insult to injury, pun intended, fucking the Elite bust into his locker room because he called them out during a press conference. If you have not seen the CM Punk press conference after All Out 2022, please go listen to it.
Cupcakes.
Even if you don't give a shit about wrestling, you don't give a shit. One of my favorite things in the world is to see somebody eat somebody else's ass publicly.
Oh, yeah.
And just
Literally,
eviscerate them.
he was eating muffins or cupcakes the
Yes.
whole time. He's
While
like licking his
shooting on the
fingers,
motherfuckers.
Yeah.
He's drinking
bleeding.
seltzer waters. He's
Yeah.
got blood pouring down him from his match with
Yeah.
Moxley. He's sitting there and just eviscerating the EVPs of the company.
I've just seen bits and pieces from TikToks and stuff.
My thing is that when he aired the dirty laundry about them not somebody. Was it Hangman Adam
Yes,
Page?
it was Hangman.
That they said he doesn't listen to. That's one thing. I'm not a wrestler, but if somebody like Mark Henry or Dean Malenko or Jerry Lynn
bet
or
you.
guys backstage like Arn Anderson,
Right.
if they fucking tell me something,
Right.
I'm gonna fucking listen.
Just like baseball, if you're a rookie and you're
Exactly.
like having somebody like Albert Pujols saying, "Hey, you might want to try this in your swing," you're gonna fucking try to do that when you
100.
swing.
But that didn't Hangman Adam Page say something in a press or article that he just does his own thing and doesn't really.
Yes.
I'm paraphrasing. I'm not.
Right.
I don't know Adam Page. I don't have a problem
Right,
with him.
right,
but
right.
I can I see why Punk got mad about that.
Yeah.
Because Punk respects the business. Punk is straight edge, like big straight edge guy. And he respected like Harley Race so much.
Right.
He took a shot with him.
And I think that, and then you go and hear all these other stories of what CM Punk did. Like, so Dax Harwood, one of my favorite wrestlers right now, he actually started to talk a little bit more openly about CM Punk. Well, he always defended CM Punk, so let me start it there. He had always been a defender of CM Punk in AEW. And I think he was a little apprehensive, and he's even said this publicly about him coming in at first, just because of some of the stories he had heard about him. And CM Punk was completely the opposite. You know, CM Punk has gotten this reputation for being a prima donna, but it's more that he has a chip on his shoulder and he is very passionate about wrestling and knows about wrestling. He's a student of wrestling, knows like things that make sense, that don't make sense.
He's probably lived and breathed it his entire life.
He's just a ultra fan
Right.
that became fortunate enough to become a wrestler and is very passionate about it. So if he doesn't like something, he tells you, or he doesn't think it makes any sense, he tells you. And that's why a lot of the younger talent liked him, was people like Will Hobbs, Jade Cargill. You know, there's several wrestlers, I think Ricky Starks, have said that they went to CM Punk. CM Punk had an open door policy for his locker room. He had his own personal locker room where people would come back and he would watch their matches and give them critiques of what they did, what they could do better in the future, so on and
that's
so
cool.
forth.
That's cool.
Like, he didn't have to do that.
Right.
He could have been a fucking superstar, show up, do his shit, and leave. That's what they do in the WWE.
But do you think Brock Lesnar's?
Roman Reigns is doing it now.
Do you think Lesnar is?
Critiquing matches.
Do you think that he's like, I'm gonna draw some fucking money and I'm gonna go back to Saskatchewan and like
Exactly
go
right.
butcher a cow or
Yeah,
something?
I'm
Yes.
buy a 6-pack and butcher me a Japanese Wagyu.
It drives me nuts. Like because the IWC like just sucks off the elite so much, like that they can't be wrong about something, or they couldn't have, they certainly like leaking shit to Meltzer. I mean, come on. They're all friends. We all know it. Meltzer's basically on the fucking payroll. Uncle Dave. The Young Bucks have a move called the Meltzer Driver. They named it after Dave Meltzer. They love Meltzer. They're all California boys, so that's another connection, But like, you think you aren't getting biased information from Dave Meltzer? And Cody isn't in the company anymore, and those people were his best friends. There's a reason he's not working with his best friends anymore. You have to think of that.
I wouldn't even say that they're best friends anymore.
No, I doubt it. I mean, he's said publicly that they're still really good friends and respect them, yada, yada. But I think just Cody's like a class act. Like, I think this,
I don't think they can talk about what happened. I think there's like
definitely NDAs. Yeah. That's another thing with Tony Khan. I just randomly going on this jag here. But Tony Khan makes everybody sign NDAs.
I want to know what him and Jim Cornette talked about so bad.
I already know some of it because Jim has talked about a few of the things, but it's just been very minimal.
Yeah, he won't go into detail about it.
But yeah, why do you have to make everybody sign NDAs? Like, that's ultra sketch
Tony Khan seems like a really nice guy because he was on Rich Eisen last week, and I think people are a little rough on him. I mean, I've definitely laughed at some of the fucking shit people joke about with him, but he's
a cokehead, I think.
Well, I'm not getting into any of that business. I'm not going to start rumors, but he just seems like a really nice guy, especially like after the Jaguars won. Yeah. He was on the field. The players were like, he's like, yeah, he was just going crazy. I don't know. I just don't know if he should be booking wrestling. I'm a wrestling fan, and I don't think I should ever book wrestling. I let people that do it, like...
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, there's a lot of fans out there. It's called, fantasy booking, mark booking. But, yeah, a lot of people think that they can do the job, but it's just like anything else. Once you're actually doing the job, there's a lot more that goes into it and behind it. And I just, to kind of bring this back into the moments and feuds of the year and that sort of stuff, the all-out breakout, like, that was the most interesting thing I was tuning into anything and everything that was talking about it because I wanted to know whose opinion, who had information, who this, who that, and I was just, like, obsessed with, like, what's going to happen? Is CM Punk going to have to leave? That him busting out in that press conference and just, like, laying out all the dirty laundry and telling everybody off, telling the wrestling, quote-unquote, journalists off in the crowd, like, him just going the fuck off on people was the most entertaining thing I saw.
Got absolutely grilled, roasted.
Oh, yeah. Bank account with his mom thing. That was hilarious. I just lost my shit when he said that. Like, I went to bed after the pay-per-view and woke up and I just see all this shit about I'm like, what?
I watched it live. I watched the press conference live because I actually ordered the pay-per-view just for MJF.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, but dude, the press conference was better than the damn pay-per-view.
Yeah, absolutely. CM Punk, he's injured. So he's not, like, in wrestling right now, and it's starting to near the end of his contract, so I'll be curious to see where he goes, if he goes anywhere at all, if he's done with wrestling after this or whatever the case is. But a lot of people have speculated that actually things were iced over, and perhaps that started with whenever Kenny Omega went back into Punk's locker room after what happened with the brawl or not. So I guess, well, I'm jumping the gun here. We never really explicitly talked, but what happened with the brawl is that the Elite, so that's Kenny Omega as well as the Young Bucks, and then some other people who have been bantied about. Mega, the chief, she's second in line to Tony Khan. I don't remember exactly what her title is, but she's like the head lawyer of the company too. So Mega goes back there with him. I think Christopher Daniels. I mean, there's a mixture of these people eventually being in the room. So Pat Buck ended up in there as well. And what happened was that they were pissed off about what CM Punk said in the press conference. So they go back, they kick open his door, supposedly kick open his door or kick down his door, whatever phrasing you want to use. They go into a closed door locker room that has CM Punk sitting in it with his dog Larry, which is like a little rescue mutt of some type, and his best friend Ace Steel. His wife is in the room, but Ace Steel's away. So they're all hanging out in his locker room after everything. After he's done his press conference or getting his stuff together or whatever, and they come bust in there pissed off that he's like eviscerated them. Said that EVPs couldn't even manage a target of this company. And
that's
so
hilarious.
Which was one of the best lines of the whole thing. And in our little teaser for today's episode. And then Ace Steel eventually, I guess, comes up on it. Words are said, fists are thrown, chairs are thrown. The dog's barking at all of these guys. So apparently Kenny tried to grab the dog and pull it out. The Young Bucks were a little bit more quick to like throw fists and stuff. But CM Punk blacked one of their eyes, apparently knocked one of the other ones out with a chair or something, if it wasn't the same Young Buck. Yeah.
Don't sound too gimmicky to me.
And then when Ace Steel got in the room, he apparently bit Kenny Omega's arm or something. So Ace Steel just comes into the room and he sees CM Punk throwing fists at all these guys. And so Ace Steel jumps in to defend Punk. So he's like the only person on Punk's side of things. I think it has been found since, but they won't release the detailings of the investigation or who even done it. Tony Khan supposedly had a private investigation into it for the results, which I think is bullshit. They never interviewed Ace Steel's wife on her perspective of the events that took place. That right there tells me that they did not have a valid investigation, if one at all, because Ace Steel's wife has since said, and everybody's been made to, or it's been proposed to sign NDAs. So that's, I think, why you're not hearing CM Punk talking about right now, because there's a lot of legal end of things right now. I guess by some perspectives, people come in the room, they see him throwing fists, they think he's the instigator. There's a lot of back and forth with just the whole thing that happened and who's on whose side and that sort of stuff. So I can't not put a mention moments feuds of the year. I mean, it's the most infamous thing of the year that took place, and I want CM Punk to come back because I started watching a little bit more religiously because of certain talents and doing my education on the years that I was off. And CM Punk was one of those wrestlers that, getting back to what I talked about earlier, I want you to do something to make me feel. I want to be entertained by you. I want to care about I want to be invested in the thing that you have going on creatively. I want to root for your character. I want to root for a character. That's when pro wrestling's at its best. And CM Punk is a guy who implements that into everything that he does.
Right, when you can pick a side.
Yeah. I mean, you cared as a kid back in the 90s when you watched Stone Cold on TV or whoever, Sting.
Hell yeah.
Because they were in a feud and they were a character that you cared about because that was all invested in.
Right.
They tried to do things that made sense, and decisions were made for their characters that made sense. And it requires everybody that's doing business in those situations to be agreeable to. And CM Punk, where, again, I don't find him really at fault with a lot of this, is I go back to the Adam Page stuff. So Adam Page, friends with all those guys, he was in the Elite. He went out on live TV with CM Punk while he was still champion. CM Punk took the championship from Adam Page. And so they were having a feud before their pay-per-view match. And he went out, basically called CM Punk out, making references to him, keeping people from jobs like Colt Cabana. And that's, I guess, with the animosity that he came in with. He talked about shit on TV that they didn't agree to beforehand and was kind of attacking CM Punk's character. And CM Punk still did business outside of the ring, but when he got back, he told him, I'm never going to fucking work with this guy again, because he's a fucking loose cannon and he's doing shit on his own and he's going on half information or incorrect information.
Yeah.
Because there was a narrative out there that CM Punk got Colt Cabana fired or taken off of TV, who wasn't doing anything on fucking television as it was. He wasn't even on TV for months. He had only been featured maybe a handful of times in the entire history of AEW. This guy was already on the outs before CM Punk even showed up his first day at work.
Right, so you can't be blaming him.
So it's total horseshit to be blaming this shit, in my opinion, when you look at all the facts and the care to actually have a legitimate investigation, to blame this all on CM Punk. And when you have a guy that everything he did and touched while he was in, people watched. The ratings were there. If you look at the quarterly hour ratings, this is something to break down in analytic and television, and you see who's watching during those quarter hours, CM Punk performed in the top 1, 2, or 3 segments constantly with what he was doing. Times one than not on AEW TV. People were watching AEW to see CM Punk. And their viewership is overall down since he's not been on TV too. Yeah. So again, it all goes back to CM Punk. People want to pay attention to CM Punk. People like CM Punk. They want to see him on TV. And now that they don't have that talent on TV, people are moving away from it. And I just think that he creates appointment television and appointment wrestling for sure. Dax Harwood on his podcast has detailed it as well. They become very good friends over time. And then Jay Cargill, too, of all people, randomly was like talking about the occasion that CM Punk bought all of the women's performers $500 Starbucks gift cards, and just said he's there for them to support them and thinks that they're doing really good. And if you have any questions or want to come back and ask me about your matches, I just know that my door is always open, and gave them all $500 Starbucks gift cards. He did the same thing with whenever he started his feud with MJF's group. He gave everybody, Tully Blanchard, the tag team of FTR, Wardlow, MJF, he gave them all $500 Starbucks gift cards. He says, now I'm looking really forward to work with you guys. I just want to give this as a token that I'm ready to do business with you guys, and know that, I'm here, and let's talk, and we'll do things that you want to do, and we'll make it work, and everybody will be happy. And it's like, so then you go jump to this other side of the table where Dave Meltzer's reporting that, he's so difficult to do business with. And you're hearing all the complete opposite stories from everybody else in the company.
Right.
Is just telling to me. So, guys, check your facts out there at IWC. I can't lean into that statement enough out there. Let's look at where the frequency of comments and what they're being made on people's characters. And hopefully we'll see CM Punk back sometime in a wrestling ring with some organization this year, and maybe he can contribute to the top moments or feuds of 2023. Jake, what's something else that you would say are in your hallmarks of events that happened last year, 2022, whether it's feuds or moments in pro wrestling?
You pretty much were on the same page. That's one of them. Cody and Seth, like I talked about. Stone Cold wrestling at WrestleMania.
Yes,
that
has to be mentioned. Yeah, Stone Cold wrestling at WrestleMania with Kevin Owens received very well critically. It was a brawl. What's Stone Cold going to do at his age and his medical limitations and so on?
It doesn't matter. I want kicks in the corner, punches, stunner, beer drinking.
And then went on to have a match with Vince McMahon.
It took the worst stunner ever.
Yeah, which was hilarious. But yeah, it was a fantastic show, WrestleMania this last year, and the whole Stone Cold and Kevin Owens. So basically that just built up with Kevin Owens kind of cutting shit on people in Texas, and then that kind of snowballed into other shit, and then calling out legends of old, and then that advanced into Stone Cold specifically. So Stone Cold then cut like kind of a pre-recorded, pre-produced video of, Kevin Owens, keep my good state's name out of your mouth and keep my name out of your mouth sort of thing. And I'll see you at WrestleMania.
Oh, shit.
And so Kevin Owens was having a talk show which eventually led into them talking shit back and forth. And he's like, you can't wrestle a match. You got all these problems, blah, 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 blah. And this is me paraphrasing. This isn't exactly what it said.
Right.
But then Stone Cold gets on the mic. He's like, you want to see Stone Cold have a match with Kevin Owens? And the crowd's like, yeah. Like people are cheering it on. And then he's like, get a damn referee. And it's like, throw this shit down.
Did you hear the glass break?
He says, you are one stupid son of a bitch.
It sounds like something you would say.
Yeah, exactly. And they had a match, man, and it was entertaining. He fucking got him on his four-wheeler, drove him up the ramp.
Yeah. Well, he took a suplex on the concrete.
Yeah.
I was like, God damn.
Yeah.
And Stone, he's like, give it to me. Just do it.
Yeah. He's fucking Stone Cold is like 58 or something.
He's
older.
And had neck problems.
He was having problems when he wrestled in his prime. He was wearing knee braces and everything. And still taking all kinds of falls. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's in incredible shape. Have you been seeing his workout videos lately?
Jacked.
No, but I remember when he was doing Broken Skull, and I could see some of it. He looked awesome in Broken Skull.
Well, he intentionally worked out to be on TV because he knows it's a business. Like, it's one thing that Stone Cold has always gotten about it. He knows it's an aesthetics business.
Have you seen him and Undertaker wine tasting?
Oh yeah, that's fantastic.
That's so good, dude.
Yeah,
He's like, they say you're supposed to shake it like this.
Yeah, that's from Broken
I don't know.
Skull.
If I can just drink it. That's the way I am. Just drink it. If it's good, drink it.
Yeah.
I mean, I even just drink it if it's bad, especially if I spent the money on it.
Right, yeah.
For sure, but that's definitely a moment of 2023 is Stone Cold back in a ring and delivering stunners to not only Kevin Owens and Vince McMahon, but we must mention Pat McAfee's.
And Byron Saxton.
And Byron Saxton.
He took a good stunner.
McAfee, the more I check into that dude, the more I love that dude.
Oh, dude. He's in the conversation, man, for real, to be an MVP of wrestling, commentating, now performing in the ring. And I don't want to shit on Baron Corbin because I actually think that he's one of the few people that actually takes the effort to be a bad guy nowadays in the business and continue that character off screen to some extent. So, like, I appreciate the dedication and stuff. And he has been a guy that has just been saddled with the stupidest shit over and over again. And he's
Happy Corbin.
Happy Corbin in particular.
Bum Corbin.
I don't know what the fuck. I actually enjoyed Bum Corbin, but it was ridiculous.
Cornetti, he's broke. He hadn't even had to make a payment yet.
Yeah, exactly right.
1 week he's a billionaire or whatever. The next week he's homeless, and it was funny though.
Now he's like now they've put old fucking Bradshaw as his manager.
JBL. I haven't really seen JB. Are they still doing it?
Yeah, they're still doing it. It just hasn't made as much TV, I don't think. But Raw, I don't even watch anymore. I just watch like highlights.
I would work
It's a
nights,
3-hour
so I
show.
can't.
There's a lot of filler on there. And I know that Triple H doesn't like the fact that it's 3 hours, but it is what it is. And he's said this in interviews. He's like, this is our business model now. We're obligated to sponsors. We're obligated to the network. He's like, people don't see that, those agreements, those relationships that we have to maintain. And it has been established that now Raw is a 3-hour show. So he didn't see anything changing anytime soon as far as that was concerned. And he said it's a necessary evil. I think he even framed it like that. So
yeah, I mean, you got to keep your networks happy. So
yeah,
you got to give them what they want.
That's where the money's at.
Right.
Is all these TV rights deals and stuff. And that's another big thing on the horizon that's going to really dictate business, I think, for the WWE specifically. AEW is in the same boat. Their contract with Turner Warner Media is about to come up now. So and
see what happens.
It's not looking very favorable because they have not maintained their audience in a lot of instances.
Right.
While they might be successful in the demo only matters really for ad sales type stuff. So they know what audience to target in whenever they're doing ads, but the numbers aren't moving upward at all.
Yeah.
If anything, they're moving down. So when you're a business, you will always want to look at, I don't care what the fuck you're doing. If you're fucking selling apples, you're renting hotel rooms, or you're a professional wrestling business, you want to look at where you started and is there an improvement over time? And if there's not an improvement over time, you got to change something. Right. So the likelihood that they're going to be getting some great TV deal might not happen. And I know that there's a lot, and I can't express enough, of push from streaming services like your Amazons, your Apple TVs that want to get involved in live sports more so than what they are. Amazon had the Thursday night game deal. Apple had some MLB games here and there.
Which, by the way, was fucking awful. Apple did a fucking rip job on the baseball games. So I hope that they do something better with that. Anyway,
did they bring in their own announcers?
They did.
Too? Like
yeah.
they didn't even use customary announcers.
Right. They hired a few people just specifically to be announcers for Apple.
Didn't know anything about
the commentary was terrible.
Yeah.
Just
ridiculous.
It was bad.
You know, and that's why I think that this is an attractive deal for like an Apple, the WWE deal that is. And that is that they already have that infrastructure in place. They already have announcers. That's a part of the company model.
Right. All you got to do is sign on.
And then they're just providing it on their platform going forward.
Right.
And WWE, it's been proven once everything moved to Peacock, their fans will follow. You might lose a few here and there, but their fans will follow.
Most people I know hate Peacock.
Oh, I hate it, but I have it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's because I want that luxury, that benefit.
Being able to go watch something, go back and watch something.
Watch something historical. You can watch anything, for the large part, historical WWE. Or you can watch, if you want to watch that pay-per-view. It's right there at your fingertips.
Yeah, that's cool.
You know, as a kid, I would have died for something like the Peacock WWE. But I don't use it as a grown adult like
would have otherwise.
Like as a kid, I would have watched every day pay-per-view. Right. Like I don't watch it like I should.
Yeah,
right. And I think it's just because everything is so accessible now. Yeah. It's like you can choose what you want to watch.
There's so much to watch. Man.
Yeah. Well, but we'll never be able to watch everything on the WWE Network.
Yeah, no.
Never.
As far as other things that have happened in wrestling in the last year, I'm just kind of scratching my head on it, but and we can get into talking top tag teams, which will go back to some of our other previous allusions and comments. And FTR, it has to be, if not the top tag team, in conversation for the top tag team of the last year. FTR has done everything. They've won every belt that's mattered. I think that there's some political issues in AEW as to why they didn't also have the AEW tag titles on top of the ROH tag titles, the New Japan tag team titles, the AAA tag team titles. They are the best in the business as far as, bell to bell, and even, as the years have gone on, particularly this year, Dak cut some of the most incredible promos, and even since he's been in AEW and been allowed to do so, Dax is one of my absolute favorite wrestlers too. I honestly could have had him in my male performers of the year. Another guy I think that's like sneaky MVP maybe of the year because of all, not only the tag matches he had, but he also had a lot of quality singles matches last year. I believe he wrestled CM Punk. He wrestled Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson. He wrestled Claudio. He had wrestled Cash. He had a lot of quality matches. Yeah, Adam Cole, that was another good one. Had one with Adam Cole. But yeah, man, as far as tacticians in the ring, technical wrestlers, they are great. And really something that we could throw in feuds of the year too is FTR Briscoes. The best 3 tag matches sequentially of any tag team that I've ever seen without question. It's unbelievable how good their fucking tag matches are. They had kind of a regular tag match, more traditional tag match, then a 2 out of 3 falls tag match, which you don't ever see. That's usually left for singles.
Yeah.
And then they had a dog collar tag match, which I don't think I've ever seen a dog collar tag match.
No, I haven't either.
A dog collar tag match.
Yes.
Go out of your way to watch
Their opponents were on dog collars and a chain in between them, and they were connected to each other the whole time.
Holy shit.
They used the chain as a weapon. They're some of the most brutal matches, especially when done right, that there is, period, whatsoever in professional wrestling.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
And that's, another sad and tragic thing about the Briscoes. I think they still had a lot in the tank, too. Like, even if they left it there with those 3 matches, they could have had even more incredible matches. So, and I'd have to include the Briscoes in my top tag teams of the year, too, because everything that they did together was must-see wrestling TV, in my opinion. The Briscoes, while they are a gimmick, that is them. That is them, dim boys in real life. Those guys, they almost like strike you as somebody that would be like Bayou type folk,
Yeah, like down on
people
the
that
bayou.
People that are like running like, an Everglade tour company out of the back of their house or something.
You see that over there, boy?
They talk a lot like that, but they're from Delaware, oddly enough. They're such a gimmick, they're such a look, but it's who they are. And that, again, that's like the good things in wrestling is whenever there's realness implemented into the characters. Like, I want to believe you. I want to believe this is the person that you are. I want to root for you, so on and so forth. So, yeah, those would definitely be 2 of my top 3 tag teams. What are some tag teams that you'd throw in there, Jake?
I'm just going to fire mine off here real quick. Yeah. FTR, the Usos, who are the best tag team without a doubt in the WWE. I think they're number 2 next to FTR. And then 3, just out of pure entertainment, the Acclaimed. I think they're hilarious.
I do like the Acclaimed, and they're really green guys. They got a lot to do in the future still yet, but I think that the sky's the limit for them if they're under the right, learning tree.
Daddy ass.
How can you not talk about daddy ass? Scissor me daddy ass.
Yeah.
And the Scissor.
Yeah,
they all scissor.
Seeing them live, the Acclaimed live was great. That was one of the, me and Derek Hankins, friend of the show, scissored each other.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Right there in front of all them little kids, too. But yeah, the scissoring thing, it's a cult phenomenon. It's caught on. I like the rap videos that they do, like the vignettes that they do. The freestyle raps that Max Caster does on the way to the ring are usually they're kind of back to the John Cena freestyles.
Oh, for sure.
Where he would actually talk about current event type stuff, and usually he's like talking shit on Trump or now Biden with the documents and stuff.
Right.
Like he makes pop culture references.
Vince McMahon.
And then talked about Vince McMahon and his sexual assault bullshit. Like he goes after people. He went after Jeff Jarrett and Kurt Angle's wife and shit too. Like, which he caught some heat for.
Oh, yeah.
Because Kurt Angle's wife got with Jeff Jarrett while, I guess, their relationship was falling apart. Whatever. It's none of my business. I don't care. But, like, he made some comment about, Karen Angle sleeping with a bunch of other people or Jeff Jarrett sleeping with Kurt Angle's wife, or as if, like, it was Kurt Angle's property,
How dare you sleep with Kurt Angle's wife?
Yeah. So, yeah, that was pretty entertaining, too. I do like the Acclaim quite a bit. I would have to say maybe a team that really caught my eye this last year, I have to say, is Aussie Open. New Japan, they're in a stable with Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay is one of the better technical wrestlers that's out there, period. He just needs to get the character aspect of it, and I can see the work that he's put into it over the last year or so, and Will Ospreay's a guy that's added some body weight and size. Like, he was very skinny and lean, and I think he's actually calmed down in his ring moves and stuff and, like, just really concentrated on being a more legitimate professional wrestler versus a lot of the flip-flop and fly that he used to do. and he can still do it, and he just does it in opportune times now. But I was really impressed with Aussie Open, even though you can still tell some greenness that with what they do. Like, one of the guys was a professional MLB player, I think Davis in the group. But I was really impressed with their look. That's another thing about a good tag team to me. You need to be able to do tag team moves. Like, you and another tag team guy, you need, as partners, you need to have
Absolutely.
signature tag team moves. And they made a real effort in having some semi-original moves and stuff. And so Aussie Open's caught my eye. They're now, I believe, the New Japan champions. Is that who beat FTR? But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't get like snatched up whenever contracts come up and stuff by one of the bigger companies, because there is a huge, like, the ceiling is almost unlimited for them too. I think Aussie Open, they got a good look, good size, and definitely something like a WWE would be looking for to put their fingerprints all over. What about female performers this year? I think it's been kind of a stinker year, quite frankly. Because
I got one. That's it. I got one. I don't got no feud. I just got one female wrestler that I care about. Pay attention. Rhea Ripley.
Oh yeah, I pay attention to her too.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely. Have nothing else to Rhea Ripley.
Yes, she's fantastic.
Other than the one chick that I follow. What's her name?
Oh, Nikita Lyons too. Okay, we're putting Nikita Lyons.
We can put her in there
because she's legit. I think gonna be great.
Her Instagram's great. I'll tell you that.
Well, brother, the
Her music video is
the
great,
salute
too.
emoji is me, Rhea Ripley, and Nikita Lyons.
Yes, sir.
So those are my. But I have no feuds because there weren't any good. Ronda Rousey's terrible now.
Yeah,
Yes.
I can't get in.
Charlotte's been in and out this year.
She's been out almost the entire year.
I can't get into Ronda hardly with anything that she does anymore.
The
Becky
AEW
was
women's
out.
matches, respectfully.
Suck.
Yeah.
Also,
I like Jade Cargill as a character, but she's not a technical wrestler at all.
what is it? Cornette says looks like an ostrich stomping on ice or something.
That's hilarious. But Jade Cargill does have good. She has a lot of personality, though.
Oh, without question, her look is
The
almost
promo
unmatched.
is good. Oh, and
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
So I like Jade Cargill on the AEW side, but there's no feuder moments for me.
No, I'm going to have a couple just for the sake of having a couple. I think Mickie James is really doing a good job over on the Impact side. I mean, she's a Hall of Famer without question. Had been working with the NWA on their female division, but I think there's some ruffle feathers there at the moment with Nick leaving, Aldis her husband, and so on with Billy Corgan. But the NWA, she had some involvement there. Was in charge of the all women's pay-per-view that they did over there on that side too. But Mickie James is a Hall of Famer. She just had a great career versus title match against Jordynne Grace over on the Impact side. Jordynne Grace she's one of those kind of keyboard warrior people that I don't care for, kind of chip on her shoulders to a degree. Married to Jonathan Gresham, that's her husband, if that tells you anything. But she has legitimately, she's always been kind of a buff chick. She has like legitimately transformed her body. Like, she's not necessarily in my top 3, but her look is insane. If you've seen Jordynne Grace anytime soon, she's chiseled out of stone. She looks like a male world bodybuilder. Like
Miss Olympia.
She's stacked.
Like the Gladiator girls of old.
Yeah.
Beyond that, dude.
Oh damn, just
like
jacked.
I have like her physique is almost unparalleled right now, and it's intimidating, quite frankly. She Big Mama Pump.
Yeah.
She called herself. Yeah.
She even dressed like Scott Steiner. She wore like
I legitimately was like, are they related? I looked it up.
she wore the whatever the fuck Scott Steiner
Yeah, that
wear.
little chained head thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, like the chainmail armor thing?
Yeah, over the top of his head.
That's awesome.
Mickie James would be one for me. Rhea Ripley, I agree with you. But Rhea hasn't had a lot of actual matches this year because she did have
Moments,
some
though.
Injury scares.
The I'm
and
your
stuff.
mommy stuff,
But
brother.
yeah, the I'm
Roll Tide.
I will say, I was pretty pissed off with the Judgment Day once they kicked out Edge because Edge didn't want to do any spooky shit and Vince McMahon wanted him to do spooky shit. Now Vince McMahon isn't even there.
No
Edge isn't
spooky.
even on TV because he's filming fucking shit for the new Percy Jackson TV show that they're doing on Disney Plus. But anywho, the Judgment Day, I was like, man, I love Finn Balor, but I do not like him in the Judgment Day. For some reason, it just doesn't fit to me. And now that they've added Dominic to that and the I'm Your Poppy stuff, and Finn's really invested in the character, I actually kind of like it now. The overall faction is one of the more entertaining factions on TV. They're actually doing shit that, Dominic went to jail for 48 hours. He's like, prison changes a man. Oh, they have some of the fucking lines from this year. Really,
on
honestly.
Twitter, when after like Raw is over, it's like Rhea
Yeah.
Ripley, like, you know, like what's Rhea whispering to Dominic or something, and
Right.
the replies are fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah. Rhea Ripley is definitely invested in her role in that group too. But I didn't expect to be seeing fucking women wrestling men. Like she fucking beat the shit out of Tozawa.
Yes.
Not too long ago.
Oh.
In a match.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
The replies to that when she pinned him like that, incredible. Go look at the Twitter replies.
I can imagine.
And the Dolph said, "It should have been me."
It should have been.
And I was like liking all of them.
Oh God, that's fantastic. Yeah, Rhea is something else, and I think she really is the top female star that they have in the company. But they, for whatever reason, whether it be injury related or whatever, she's not quite there right now. But I think that will eventually lead us into one of our themes for Royal Rumble. I think they're going to be doing something with her there, personally. That'd be
Hopefully,
where my money's at.
wins the women's Royal Rumble match.
Well, the women's Royal Rumble match, they haven't announced where it's at in the card, but it's definitely on the Royal Rumble card. I wouldn't be shocked if they opened with it because they don't have any other feature matches. You have to think the men's Royal Rumble's going to happen. And it's often the last thing of the night. So then you've got Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens.
That'll be a great match
For that. And is it Austin Theory and Seth Rollins or I'm not entirely sure.
idea.
We'll look up the match card when it comes time, but I know that the US title is going to be on the line as well. But yeah, Rhea Ripley, I would say, is definitely still yet one of my top female performers of the year. And it's hard for me to put in Becky or Charlotte because they've missed so much of the year. And, that would force me to kind of go on down the ladder. And there's people that I like, and I know that they're good wrestlers and stuff in WWE on the women's side of things. But, I mean, honestly, you almost have to say Mandy Rose has to be considered. She is definitely the most improved women's wrestler that I've noticed.
Making
on
some
TV.
headlines.
She's made her headlines with her, whatever the version of OnlyFans that she's using, and God bless her in those pictures that are out there. And, roll tide on that.
Roll Tide.
I don't know that she necessarily makes mine, but if you also consider all the controversies, her getting fired from NXT, WWE, on account of having too much revealing nature of her content out there, and what she ended up making, like the first week after, I think she made over like $500,000 on her OnlyFans.
Jesus.
Just in a week.
Jesus.
Yeah, because
Why wrestle ever again?
why wrestle? Yeah, that's exactly my point. Now, people are going to make this point, which is valid, but also it might kind of coincide with her, showing her stuff off online, but that, her nudity and what she offers as far as content is. How long is that going to last? How long is that going to make you money? How long until people aren't interested anymore? You can only show your whole fucking business so many times,
and then everybody's seen it.
Then everybody's seen it and shared it, and it's made its rounds on the various sites and Reddits and what have you. If we were to conclude outside the ring stuff, maybe I'd put Mandy Rose in there. I think just by default, I'd have to go to the AEW side and I'd have to look. And Jay Cargill, again, look at her record. All of her segments suck. Her promos are believable. When she's running her mouth, it's believable. But they don't lead to anything. The Bow Wow shit, it's totally scrapped now.
Yeah.
I mean, the baddies, I liked it in concept. They're just randomly doing shit with the baddies on TV and not on TV. And that's another thing.
How about
It's like
AEW?
you gotta watch
You
the
gotta
fucking
YouTube shows. You got to watch
Yeah.
their vlogs. I'm like,
No.
I don't do that.
I don't have that time.
No.
So I think just by default, for lack of anybody else, I'd have to say Jay Cargill. People might point to Jamie Hayter. Honestly, I would probably have to include her. Yeah, Jamie Hayter would definitely take that third spot for me because Jamie Hayter.
I don't even know who Jamie Hayter is.
So
I know
she's
the name,
Britt
but I don't.
Baker's
Okay,
badass
that girl,
sidekick.
okay.
Yeah, like she's a very good worker. She's had great matches all year long. She's had great title matches. She really hasn't been getting an opportunity to cut promos because Britt has been speaking for her, and I think that's kind of the storyline that they're trying to start eventually, is turn them against each other because Britt keeps stealing the mic from her, sort of stuff. But I would like to see, like, the only reservation I have with Jamie Hayter is because she hasn't done much promo stuff. So, but yeah, Jamie Hayter is definitely, and there's a groundswell, like fans are cheering for her. Like, she is a babyface in the making because the fans have chose her. She's got size. She's got a look just like very similar to Rhea Ripley. I think they're the same, like, size-wise. One of the bigger women on their team has a lot of power moves and that sort of stuff. So I'd have to throw Jamie Hayter in there.
Okay.
So I think that's we kind of wrapped some of our favorite things in 2020. Was there anything that you overlooked, Jake, that you wanted to?
I pretty much covered any. At this point, I just watch for certain people more than a whole show or a card.
Right, for sure.
So,
Right.
and the people that I mentioned are the people that I pay attention. I also big Matt Cardona and Brian Myers fan, but
Right.
I didn't really watch a whole lot of Impact this year.
Did you see that he filed for the trademark on Zack Ryder? Matt Cardona did.
Apparently, he's coming back, which hopefully
Yeah.
we'll talk about that in just a second. But
I think that is going to lead us nicely into our Royal Rumble talk now. And I think some of the for sure things that they have on Royal Rumble is obviously the men's and women's Royal Rumble match. We talked about the title match with Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens. Let's kind of start with the women's Royal Rumble real quick. So it's not like we could sit here and predict everybody that's going to be in there because they haven't announced everybody that's in there. So we can't sit here and predict who's going to be in the women's Royal Rumble match because the match card hasn't been filled out. They haven't said everybody that declares, but you can pretty much already assume at least about 20 to 25 of those spots are on roster talent. And then you're going to have your surprises. Maybe your NXT call-up types or veterans of old, Hall of Famers, or new talent. And new talent sometimes ends up in the Royal Rumble and shows up in the Royal Rumble. I'm just going to go back to Rhea Ripley. I think that Rhea Ripley is probably going to win the Royals Rumble match, in my opinion. What are your feelings on the women's Royal Rumble match?
she should win. Nobody else should win. You're asking the biggest Rhea Ripley fan.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for. Don't care about anybody else. Be cool to see a couple like legends come back as always, but she should win, and that's what I'm there for that match.
Yeah, I think it's definitely her night. The only other thing we could speculate on is what other surprises or new talents coming in might be. I don't know that there's been a lot of like rumor or innuendo surrounding any particular new talents other than Chelsea Green. There's a big thought that Chelsea Green's coming back to WWE alongside of her husband, Matt Cardona, aka Zack Ryder as well. And I think there's a few different actions that are kind of being put forth right now to kind of lead us to believe that it's the copyright thing I just mentioned. There's a copyright out there for Zack Ryder.
He was like talking about the 10-year anniversary of his song Hosky.
And then he did share that too. All over social media was the 10-year anniversry of Hosky.
What a banger.
He did so much back then to like get his character over.
He's literally started the internet wrestling shit.
Right.
Like vlogging, getting yourself over, making your own brand, doing your own thing. I think he was like the forefront,
Without
guy.
question.
Yeah.
There would be no up, down, down. There would be no being the elite if it wasn't for Cardona, without question. So I think that might be one of the newer debuts. They always try to bring in a veteran. I think that's going to be contingent on, other deals that they might be having. There's a lot of speculation that Vince is going to get Undertaker involved in things to some extent. He is going to be at Raw 30.
Undertaker's going to be in the Royal Rumble.
I'm not saying Royal Rumble. He's going to be at Raw 30. What I am saying is I think once they get the Undertaker in doing business, Michelle McCool by default ends up doing business with them real close to that. So we saw her at the Royal Rumble in St. Louis. She was there. I predict that she may be at this one considering they're doing business with Undertaker again. He's coming back for 30 just to be in gimmick, I'm sure, and do something with somebody. So I wouldn't be shocked if Michelle McCool is one of the historical talent that shows up. I don't know if there's a lot of other people coming out of contract right now that might be signing up. Have you heard anything with anybody coming in?
Besides Cardona, no. That's the only one that I could see coming in because what makes me think Cardona is because he's losing titles on the indies.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, he's still taking bookings, I saw, but Myers re-signed with Impact for a full year for this year.
Yeah.
Cardona did not, as far as I know.
We'll jump over to the men's sides of things. I wouldn't be surprised with Cardona coming back. I think there's a lot of speculation with the men's Royal Rumble being a vehicle to set up Roman Reigns' feud for WrestleMania, and obviously it should be. That's traditionally that's what it is. Whoever wins the Royal Rumble gets a shot at the champion at WrestleMania. There's been a various amount of things bantied about as a possibility. There's been talk of The Rock coming back to headline WrestleMania in Hollywood. Now, what does that look like? What does that involve? What are the necessary steps to get there? Well, a real easy way to tell that story is for him to enter, surprisingly, into the Royal Rumble and win it. I think that's kind of a lazy way, quite frankly.
Doesn't need to win the Royal Rumble for
necessary.
that match. Yeah. Cody Rhodes needs to win the Royal Rumble more than anyone.
And that's another theory for a finish out there, is that Cody Rhodes will win the Royal Rumble to set up a feud with Roman Reigns. Now, how is Roman Reigns going to have a feud with The Rock but also have a feud with Cody Rhodes? Well, there's a theory out there that they actually want Roman to headline both nights.
Yeah.
And they want to also separate the titles. Now, I don't know if they do some type of screwy finish where with the two of them that says, okay, Cody, you're going to win the referee's decision, and it's split decision. So now what we're going to do, Cody, you get this title, and Roman, you get that title. That's the fairest thing to do. You guys are both champions. And then Roman goes on the next night to have that championship defended against The Rock as the Royal Rumble finish. I don't hate that idea, just as long as they tell the story the right way and they get to those points the right way. To me, it's never about what the ultimate end of the story is. It's how you get there, the story that you tell to get there, the milestones that you hit to get there. So that would be okay. But again, it seems kind of screwy.
Yeah.
As far as a decision. So, and I think, some of the surprises that you will see beyond that, at first they were advertising Brock Lesnar on the Royal Rumble. He was on a lot of the solicitations and stuff, and he's recently been taken off of them. So I don't know that he's going to show up, but apparently a match that is on the table is Gunther versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania.
Would be amazing. That could be a match of the year.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Them two dudes just beating the piss out of each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Imagine Brock Lesnar taking one of them chops. He's going to be like, fuck you.
Yeah, I want to see that. Like, I think that I don't think I'm in the minority. Not only the IWC would want to see that, but even the casuals would want to see that. It kind of goes back to the old philosophy of, these in-ring titans clashing, and that's like, I wish Walter's gotten in way better shape, aka Gunther is what he goes by now. He's gotten a lot better shape. He used to be kind of a bigger guy, but I actually thought he was a little bit more menacing with that body weight on him. He was visually bigger looking, but now he's leaned out. I will say the facials that he gives while he's acting are like way more predominant. Like his cheekbones are showing and stuff. He looks like a fucking bad guy in I don't know, like Die Hard or something like that, or Speed, like a fucking foreign guerrilla insurgent cell of some type he's heading. He's like a Russian or something like that. Like he looks evil. Like he looks like a bad guy.
Also, a quick mention that I forgot another character. Speaking of guys that actually changed his character, but it's not getting talked about enough. Brock Lesnar showed a new side of him this year.
He was fun, man. I think
tractor shit. Is goofy as it was when him bringing the tractor to the ring was hilarious.
I was about it, and that phenomenal catch from Roman Reigns too.
Yes,
WrestleMania was insane. My wife actually threw a diaper at me across the room the other day, and I wasn't looking, and I caught it like that, and I didn't know she was going to throw it either. And I was like, "Hey, that was some fucking put the ones up."
Yeah,
I told her we the ones. I said that was some Roman Reigns shit right there. The way I caught that diaper.
He had a promo when he was feuding with Bobby Lashley earlier this year that was pretty good too. When Brock can talk a little bit, when he doesn't do it a lot, he can handle his own sometimes.
I agree 100%, and I think really the only Brock might be an entrant. I don't know what good that does. They already declared almost as an entrant.
Met him at a Cape gas station.
He has I don't think that he's going to turn out to be that great of a wrestler. He's just a giant for a giant.
Kevin Nash says differently, and I trust Kevin Nash.
Yeah, I know Kevin Nash is really into him. I know he's done some shit at the PC. And I just don't know. I don't see it yet. He doesn't really have charisma to me. MVP with him, yeah, that's great.
It could just take a few years, because Kevin Nash, it took a while for Kevin Nash to hit.
Yeah, it's definitely going to take the right circumstances for him to get over, but I just don't see it myself. I don't know. I think that really the most likely scenarios, it's either The Rock or Cody winning Royal Rumble, which I'd be happy with. I think I'd be happier if it was Cody, just because it's a little bit more of an underdog
The Rock
story.
does not need a title. He's the fucking Rock.
Right.
I mean, the story's there. Boom.
I agree.
It writes itself. Doesn't need a whole. Doesn't need. It's true. It's real, true shit.
And there's all kinds of bangers he could go on to have as champion and feuds.
Imagine he reverses a spear into Crossroads. Gives it Crossroads him 3 times. Boom. 1, 2, 3. That's what I want. That's what I want.
I think that him and Roman could tell a really good story, and the fact that they're generational talents too. So their family the history is very rich.
Maybe Dustin comes back as Dustin Rhodes.
I would be okay with that too. I'm a big fan. I think, Dustin Rhodes, Gold Dust, is one of the most underrated characters of all time. Even is in his 50s right now. He's already said.
He had a match with CM Punk this year.
Yeah, that too. I mean, that was another great CM Punk match when I was giving down the punch list of people that he worked with last year. That was great. I think the Royal Rumble, of course, it's always a device to kind of tell those big stories going into WrestleMania. This year, it's WrestleMania 39 in LA. I think they're going to be looking for headlines and just having that star factor there. And I think whenever Rhea wins, I think she's going to go after Charlotte again, because they've had some of the best series of women's matches over the years recently, back in I think it was 2020 when they were feuding. Or
the best pandemic match for sure was Charlotte and Rhea.
I agree. It was very good. Other matches on the card, we've got Bray Wyatt and LA Knight in a Mountain Dew Pitch Black match. Yeah, so this Pitch Black match is a newer match that they're doing.
That's hilarious. Mountain Dew Pitch Black match.
Because it's Mountain Dew Pitch. Yeah, right. I
kind of like it.
Is this another House of Horrors type match, or what the fuck's going on?
I like LA Knight, though.
I do like LA Knight. He's a talker. He's got a good look. He's a throwback, type wrestler, somebody that would work perfect back in JCP days, or, Mid-South, or whatever the case, world class.
Oh, when he was in NWA a few years ago. Yeah. He was great.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, LA Knight's a good guy, and I do enjoy watching him work. This feud hasn't really done it for me, though, to be honest with you.
No.
I was pretty happy about it first, yeah.
It started off good.
But it's been kind of dragging ass.
Yeah, it's been... I want it to get kicked into third gear.
Yeah, for sure. And then the Uncle Howdy shit, like, who is he? Who's he not? Like, they teased, like, when Bray came back, that all of these various characters from the Funhouse and what have you would be iterations of actual wrestlers. And
because Bo Dallas is signed with the company. He has not been on TV, but he is under contract, but he has not been seen.
Yeah, it's believed that Eric Young is also under contract because he let his Impact deal expire. That's why he lost the match that he had, and he got kicked out of his faction.
And what about Eric Rowan too?
Eric Rowan, I'm not sure about. He did do an interview, and basically the impression that I got is that he was open and coming back to WWE, and that he didn't find AEW to be a very professional company. So he actually talked shit on AEW. So I think that if he's coming back to wrestling beyond the indies, it's going to be in WWE. But there's just so much I think that might actually have the brakes pumped on it now, unfortunately, because of Vince coming back and them trying to sell the company. Even though they've assured everybody that, everybody's jobs are safe and everything creatively is going to go the same day to day. Once you start cutting people in the office, man, like, that's just office staff. And, like, I understand that these guys are independent contractors, but they got guaranteed contracts. Wrestlers do nowadays in WWE, so I don't foresee a lot of new acquisitions, although people are speculating that coming up, but maybe we'll see Eric Young or Bo Dallas in the Royal Rumble. That's how they're
and maybe them get the shot that they deserve legitimately, because both of them can. Eric Young is amazing. Bo Dallas is a better wrestler than Bray, without a doubt.
I don't think Bray's that great of a wrestler, although I will say Bray did have some sneaky good matches. Like, I think people like to shit on Bray as far as his actual technicality of work, but I've seen him have some good, solid matches. He usually actually, and they're not matches that I enjoy because they're just so difficult to follow, multi-man matches. He had a really good, I think it was either a 5 or a 6-man on Raw, for a number one contendership that they had back in 2018, I believe it was. And go back and check that out. I think that's a sleeper match for sure. Seth Rollins was in it, Roman Reigns, I believe Rusev, and I forget who else. But yeah, it was a really good one. Maybe Samoa Joe. I remember that. I thought it should have been a pay-per-view. All right, so we've talked about most of the match card. We've alluded to it a few times. The only other 2 matches that are announced are Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens, and then Alexa Bliss versus Bianca Belair.
Don't care about that. And Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens will be a good match, but we all know what's going to happen.
Right.
But it'll be a really good match. It'll be fun to watch.
Kevin Owens is obviously not winning. The only thing I'll say about the women's match is that Alexa she's taken some breaks here and there. She's gone back to the horror character or whatever, and they're tying her back in with Bray and shit. So that's in part why I think some of those people that we talked about that are under contract now are going to be coming back. They've alluded to the fact that Alexa is going to, join that faction once again, or there's going to be some iteration of that faction. So I don't know that it's necessary for her to have a title. I could see them giving her the title just because Bianca's had it for so long now. And, it'd be like a spooky character with the title. But she doesn't... Alexa Bliss, quite frankly, doesn't need the title. She is kind of a gimmick in general. And I know that, like, her merch is one of the better sellers, like, especially the Lily doll that they had.
Oh, at the live event, people were
Sold
buying
like
the shit
crazy.
out of that.
Yeah,
And Rey
and it was-
Mysterio masks.
And they were still selling the Lily dolls, even though she wasn't really using that as a part of her gimmick. So that tells me that they're going to want to stick with that, and they do make decisions based on figure sales and things like that people don't realize with characters sometimes. You wonder why they're on TV.
You mean masks get sold at every event I go to?
I mean, I bought one for my son. It's just a shitty little plastic mask that you would buy for like a Halloween costume back in the late 80s or early 90s. Like, it's of that material and quality. Yeah, I think the Royal Rumble has chances to be a big event this year. I mean, it's usually one of the bigger pay-per-views. I'm excited for it. I hope that, that there's some good storylines that come of it. But, I think we're going to see something done with Cody Rhodes as a character. And I do think that The Rock is involved. A lot of people have said that, Rock just a few days ago said in an interview that he wouldn't be able to get in ring shape quick enough for the Royal Rumble. Well, no shit if you were just starting, but it's almost laughable that
You're the fucking
dude,
Rock.
like, he's putting up his Iron
And
Paradise.
dude, you can get in there for 2
workouts.
minutes and go rock bottom,
Absolutely.
people's elbow,
Right.
End of story.
So I think that that's just kind of a red herring thing. I think that we're going to see The Rock, and I would actually be all about, because there's rumors of them trying to bring Stone Cold back as well to help kind of sell the product to its eventual buyer, but also to perhaps appeal to like just kind of like a good overall brand gesture as a business. Like, there's talk of them bringing Stone Cold back. Maybe we'll see Stone Cold at the Rumble. I'm not saying in the Rumble match, but maybe to set up something at WrestleMania. Stone Cold's been putting up a lot of workout videos lately, and he had a match last year, and I would dare to say he's even more credible shape than he was last year right now. He's been doing RV workouts because he travels around, he and his wife doing an RV, and he looks fucking jacked and cut to the gills.
Absolutely.
Like, I guarantee you, he's pale as fuck, but I bet I would put his physique up against a lot of people that are active wrestlers today across any promotion, because he's looking fucking jacked. And he's doing it for some reason.
Yeah.
Some people were like speculating that he was coming back. He was like,
He ain't drinking much right now.
No, he ain't. He's like, oh no, I'm just doing to get in shape for myself. I'm like, well, motherfucker, I can believe that, but also know better.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see Stone Cold. I think we're going to see Austin 316.
There it is.
There we go.
I
Right?
love it. Did you get that at the Royal Rumble?
Yes. Oh no, I got this at the SmackDown Live event.
Okay.
Nice.
Back in October.
Oh, yeah,
before I
that's
was
right.
there.
That's right.
Yeah, they had the same.
They had a
316.
Halloween one too, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. I
looked
almost
cool.
got that, but
Yeah.
I wanted to go with the Stone Cold 316 one because it's Stone
It's
Cold
crazy
in
how
St. Louis.
he's the most popular merch seller, and he's wrestled once in 20 years.
Yeah,
Yeah, and he's
I
still
mean,
killing it on sales.
He's like literally the most popular wrestler in the world.
they don't make them like they used to.
No.
So I'm hoping that the Royal Rumble produces some more stars, takes people that upper echelon. I think Rhea Ripley's a star outside of wrestling. It's only a matter of time before she's in movies or whatever.
She can do whatever she wants.
She can do what the fuck she wants. She can fucking do porno. And I wouldn't be mad about that.
No, I wouldn't.
I don't think anybody'd be mad.
But yeah, and then the men's Royal Rumble, it'd be. I think the best story to be told is if Cody wins.
Absolutely.
As far as stories,
That's what I'm here
told.
for. Anything else is just bleh.
What if Vince is in the Royal Rumble?
He's not. He's not going to be. I hope not. Go get a hobby, Vince.
Vince is going to have a ladder match with all of his people that are accusing him of sexual assault.
That's a big
allegations
fucking ladder match.
Dangling over the ring. If Vince gets to it, you have to dismiss all the cases, and then
They're gonna have to join
he's
this
gotta give a
Kiss
payout
My Ass
on
Club.
everybody.
That's like all the evidence against him in
Yeah.
the briefcase. If he can get to it, he can light it on fire. If not, they can all prosecute him.
That would be fucking hilarious. People would pay for that. They would.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you're looking to make some money, Vince, start exploiting your situation. I know 90s Vince would have. You're trying to say that you're still with the times, man. Go back and make some of those 90s decisions again. Mae
no
Young's
shit.
hand, baby.
No shit.
Oh, man. Beaver cleavage, another strong one.
Horrible.
Well, anything wrestling-wise that we missed from the last year, you think? I know it was kind of a just kind of a light skim over of everything, but I think we hit the big points.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because during football season, I don't watch wrestling really, so like,
Right.
It does impact for sure.
yeah. Sorry, wrestling, you just get put on the back burner.
Between the podcast and football and all that fun stuff, work, it gets hard to stay up with the wrestling. But I've kept a pulse on most of it and known what was going on for the large part and watched quite a bit still yet. But I just want characters to care about, just back to that shit that we've talked about a million times. Just hoping to tune in on the Royal Rumble, find something to care about to keep me watching for a little while. Because football is about to wrap it up in the next few weeks, and I need something to watch.
Yeah, so summertime I watch a lot of wrestling, because
if it ain't baseball, it's wrestling and vice versa.
Yeah, I like baseball, but it's not like football. I don't have to watch baseball every day.
Yeah, baseball. It's if it's a blowout or if it's a slow game, it's not a watch.
Like football is mandatory appointment watching every week because it's once a week.
Right.
17 games for a season versus 162. It's all there.
Right.
I think if you cut at least, it will never happen again because it's all about ad sales and money and shit. If you cut baseball at least back half, so that's 82 games a year.
My brother would disagree with this hardcore.
I don't care. 81 games, it would mean more than it does with 162.
Yeah, there's more. You can lose 6 games in a row in the MLB and make it in the playoffs. If you started 0-6 in the NFL, you're fucked basically.
Right. Yeah.
Well, shit. I mean, how many teams now? This year was one occasion for sure. How many teams are like sub 500 that makes the playoffs too? As well, like it hasn't happened as frequently, but I've seen it happen quite a few times in baseball.
Yeah, it happens more so in baseball than
the Cardinals. The one that they had a shitty record in
barely
2006.
over 500.
They were barely just a few games over 500.
Yeah,
and they won it all. And a lot of people would not be like, I'm sure like the masses, especially the other teams, were pissed off about it. I wasn't. I mean, hey, Cardinals, right? And
absolutely. They wanted the Tigers to win that year because the Tigers were really good.
Well, a lot
Detroit's a bigger market than St. Louis.
But yeah, guys, I think we pretty much hit the nail on the head for the large part in wrestling, and hopefully there's good shit that comes out this year. Next episode is going to be episode 52, going to close out series 1 or season 1 for us. And that's going to be the inspiration episode that I mentioned. That's a supercut of the very first pilot episode of All Things Insane we did, Josh, back in 2010.
I'm scared.
In late fall. And then after that will be just a guest appearance that I had on another podcast, just excerpts from that, talking about our current influences and why we do the show. And then we'll have some announcements about the second season. We're going to have a couple weeks off here. And just to circle the horses and get the schedule laid out, and we'll be announcing that all on social media, be available on Instagram as well as our Facebook. We're going to have that up on Twitter as well. We've still been doing a little bit more on the TikTok. I just want to mention we do have a TikTok if you're listening to us. We usually put like show highlights up there and then our little teasers that we do before the shows whenever we're going to have those. But we're not as active on that one. But if you want to follow us on TikTok, we're there nonetheless, and it is relatively up to date. So, Jake, thanks for coming this week.
Yeah, Jake, thank you so much, man. Thanks for contributing for this.
Thanks for having me on again, and we'll probably be doing whatever you need next for big wrestling events.
Absolutely.
I'll be here. And Waxing On just recorded an episode last night.
Yes, I was going to mention, we can't forget the Waxing On piece of things and Jake being involved there with old Ridge Jackson as well as older brother. And that we've got Waxing On with RJ. We'll be having a new episode releasing this week as well, and continued content coming out of there. You guys are doing some good work.
Thank you.
For sure.
And getting some attention from some of those bands that we're trying to highlight too. So that's always a cool thing too as well. So I am Barry Insane on Instagram and Twitter, and I've got Josh Welch _Josh Welch on Instagram sitting next to me here, my co-host.
Yeah, baby.
And for this week, we have to bid you all adieu once again. Good night and good luck.
Stay safe out there, guys.
Hey, this is Josh from ATI Podcast. For show updates and news about the podcast, follow us on social media. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ATI Podcast 22, on Twitter at podcast_ATI, on Instagram at the ATI Podcast, on TikTok at ATI Podcast. DMs are always welcome. Have a question for the show? You can always email us at atipodcastquestions@gmail.com. Stay safe out there.
Hi, Nick Hausman with Wrestling Inc.
I'll start, Nick. Show of hands. Who here fancies themselves as a journalist? You're a journalist, Nick? All
I
right.
try my best.
Okay. No, real quick.
Go ahead.
You still do improv?
No, not a little bit.
No?
No.
When you did improv, who'd you do improv with?
I did it with Scott Colton.
Okay, so you fancy yourself a journalist. Would you say you're friends with Scott Colton?
No, I haven't talked to Scott in some time.
So you're not friends with him?
No, Scott and I do not see eye to eye.
Oh, wow. Well, that makes two of us. My point is, if you fancy yourself a journalist, even if it's for the silly world of professional wrestling, and you have journalistic integrity, people who report things, mostly that are bullshit, and slanderous lies against myself, if you are friends with somebody, you blew my spot. If you're not friends with them, I apologize.
It's okay.
But you should probably disclose who you're friends with.
I'm not friends with you.
I haven't had anything to do with Scott Colton in almost a decade. Probably wanted nothing to do with him even longer than that. It's fucking unfortunate that I have to come up here and speak on this when I'm on my time and this is a fucking business. Why I'm a grown-ass adult man and I decide not to be friends with somebody is nobody else's fucking business. But my friends, if I fall backwards, will catch me. Scott Colton, I felt, never would have. My problem was I wanted to bring a guy with me to the top that did not want to see me at the top. Okay? You call it jealousy, you call it envy, whatever the fuck it is. My relationship with Scott Colton ended long before I paid all of his bills. I have every receipt, I have every invoice, I have every email. I have the email where he says, and I quote, "I agree to go our separate ways. I will get my own lawyer and you do not have to pay anymore." That's an email that I have. The only reason the public did not see is because when I finally had to countersue him through discovery, we discovered he shared a bank account with his mother. That's a fact. And as soon as we discovered that fact and we subpoenaed old Marcia, he sent the email, "Oh, can we please drop all this?" Now, it's 2022. I haven't been friends with this guy since at least 2014, late 2013. And the fact that I have to sit up here because we have irresponsible people who call themselves EVPs and couldn't fucking manage a target, and they spread lies and bullshit and put into a media that I got somebody fired when I have fuck all to do with him, want nothing to do with him, do not care where he works, where he doesn't work, where he eats, where he sleeps. And the fact that I have to get up here and do this in 2022 is fucking embarrassing. And if y'all are at fault, fuck you. If you're not, I apologize. But what did I ever do in this world to deserve an empty-headed fucking dumb fuck like Hangman Adam Page to go out on national television and fucking go into business for himself? For what? What did I do? Dave, what did I ever do?
Tell me.
Didn't do a goddamn thing. What's your name, sir?
Dominic D'Angelo.
Fuck the Pittsburgh Penguins. What are you doing?
I'm from Pittsburgh.
I made it really clear in Forbes, and I just want to make it clear again. Nick,
It's not his position to make it very fucking clear. There's people who call themselves EVPs that should have fucking known better. This shit was none of their business. I understand sticking up for your fucking friends. I fucking get it. I stuck up for that guy more than anybody. Okay? I paid his bills until I didn't, and it was my decision not to.
Yeah, but I shouldn't have no commented when Nick first said it. It's my fault, and if I hadn't, it's my fault. It's my fault.
I appreciate
I
that.
should have
but
just taken it head on because you never
But
said
I'm trying to
anything.
run a fucking business, and when somebody who hasn't done a damn thing in this business jeopardizes the first $1 million house that this company has ever drawn off of my back and goes on national television and does that, it's a disgrace to this industry, it's a disgrace to this company. Now, we're far beyond apologies, right? I gave him a fucking chance. It did not get handled, and you saw what I had to do, which was very regrettable, lowering myself to his fucking level. But that's where we're at right now. And I will still walk up and down this hallway and say, if you have a fucking problem with me, take it up with me. Let's fucking go. What's your question, Nick?
First of all, you're always very nice to me, and thank you. I wanted to ask about MJF. Obviously, he played a voicemail from you before he came out. Obviously, confronted you, Punk. Why now? Why is MJF back in the fold now? How do you both feel about him being around? How do you feel about the time he spent away? All of that.
Well, if I may, I'm the one who asked him to come back because MJF's a big star in this company, and this is one of the biggest events. A year ago, CM Punk debuted here, and I thought it was right for the fans. And like I said, for the fans. I thought the best thing that we could do as a company was bring MJF back.
He wants me to work with pricks constantly. That's what it is.
Nevertheless, two of the top wrestlers in the world, MJF and CM Punk, could be a big match down the line.
Sorry to keep bringing this fucking up, but I've never spoken his word in I don't know how long, so I'm a little fucking pissed off about it.
That's fine.
When it came down that he was going to sue me, I asked to talk to him. He refused. I asked for mediation. It was denied. I offered him money. He said it was not enough. He went ahead with the lawsuit and sued. It's his fucking funeral. I don't care. He shares a bank account with his mother that tells you all you need to know about what kind of character that is.
You were always very nice to me. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Nick. I'm sorry if I'm a little fucking snippy.
That's fine.
I'm hurt and I'm old and I'm fucking tired. And I work with fucking children.
I respect the situation.
I regret not answering your question.
And I only asked it because I have some familiarity and just wanted some clarification on the story.
Yeah,
I didn't break
I should have just taken it head on like I did with Blake and Forbes recently.
We're all learning here, Tony. It's okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
This is from Mindy's Bakery, by the way. It's a great place in Chicago. If you like pastries and baked goods, I suggest you go there. They're closed on Mondays and Tuesdays, though.
This is Barrett from the ATI Podcast. Each week, Josh and I discuss current events, pop culture, music, TV, movies, politics, sports. Nothing is out of bounds. You can also tune in to learn about rising artists, small businesses. Whether it's music, graphic design, filmmaking, or even a brick-and-mortar mom-and-pop shop, we will be spotlighting folks and their endeavors. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Anchor, or anywhere you enjoy your podcasts. Just search ATI Podcast. We would like to thank you for your continued support, and as always, please stay safe out there.